Chapter 1325. 1325 Nirvana Pill, complete. We followed Master to the ocean. Following that, Fatty gave a rough account of his experiences over the years. Back then, after the Battle of Providence had ended, they had followed the demonic Sky Sovereign overseas to cultivate. Fatty had already obtained some fortuitous encounters in the Battle of Providence. In addition, he had also obtained some fortuitous encounters overseas. Over the years, his cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds, reaching the 5th level of the spiritual god realm. His rate of improvement was even faster than many of the heaven's favorites who had awakened to the 9th level of the divine level. Even Ruan Tingting had barely reached the peak of the spirit embryo realm. This time, when they returned, they realized that the divine wilderness continent had been completely transformed. Moreover, they had also heard the news about Lu Ming and the alliance between the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace and the Xie family. They deduced that Lu Ming would definitely have a battle with the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace and the Xie family. Therefore they rushed over to help Lu Ming. Lu Ming was very touched. He immediately arranged for the Fatty, the Devil Sky King, and the rest to stay in their rooms. The addition of the demonic Sky Sovereign meant that they had one more sovereign on their side, which was a great help. Then Lu Ming returned to the secret alchemy room. In the blink of an eye, another 3 days had passed. The Nirvana pill was finally about to be successfully refined. Lu Ming's main body ended its cultivation and opened his eyes. A strong medicinal fragrance came out of the pill furnace. Open. After a while, he lightly drank it and opened the pill furnace. An even stronger medicinal fragrance rushed out. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The moment the pill furnace was opened, 9 milky white rays of light flew out from it. Collect. The second body waved his hand, and dense runes appeared in the sky, wrapping around the 9 rays of light. Within the light, there were 9 milky white pills with strange patterns on them. The pill danced within the inscriptions as if it had a mind of its own. The second body took out a jade bottle and put away all 9 pills. It was a success. The Nirvana elixir had been successfully refined. Lu Ming was overjoyed to have obtained a total of 9 Nirvana elixir. Although the Nirvana elixir was of no use to him, it was a priceless treasure to other martialists who had not awakened a 9th level divine bloodline. Buzz. The second body entered the main body's glabella and disappeared. Lu Ming kept the Nirvana pills and left the secret chamber. Not long after, Lu Ming invited Yan Kuangtu and Fatty Kong Jin to his residence. Lu Ming, what good news do you have for me? He asked. The Fatty's small eyes were spinning. Lu Ming smiled. He had not seen this guy for a few years. He had not changed at all. This time there's indeed something good. Lu Ming smiled and a jade bottle appeared. 2 Nirvana pills flew out from the bottle and flew to Fatty and Yan Kuangtu. As soon as the two of them smelled the medicinal fragrance of the Nirvana pill, they knew that it was definitely not an ordinary pill. They quickly wrapped it with their true qi and grabbed it. Lu Ming, what kind of pill is this? Yan Kuangtu asked curiously. This pill is called the Nirvana pill. After consuming it, it will allow one's bloodline to achieve Nirvana. There is a certain chance that it can raise one's bloodline by 1 or even 2 levels. Lu Ming explained. What? Yan Kuangtu and Fatty were completely stunned. It could actually allow one's bloodline to achieve Nirvana and increase in level. This was too heaven-defying, right? Their hearts were beating fast. Both of their bloodlines were at the 8th level of the divine level. Although they seemed to be of a very high level, they were in fact not perfect. Only a 9th-ranked divine level expert would have a perfect bloodline. In the great sects of the Yuan continent, the minimum requirement for recruiting disciples was to awaken a 9th level divine bloodline. The two of them naturally yearned for 9th level divine level bloodlines. However, bloodlines were inborn. Unless they were like Lu Ming, who had awakened the heaven-defying 9-dragon bloodline, it would be difficult for them to improve. But now the pill in their hands could improve their bloodline, and their breathing became heavier. Lu Ming, this pill is too precious. Yan Kuangtu took a deep breath and was the first to calm down. He looked at Lu Ming and said, Big brother Yan, just accept it. The Nirvana pill will be the most useful for you. Lu Ming smiled. That's good. Yan Kuangtu wasn't a wishy-washy person, so he immediately put them away. Kong Jin, on the other hand, wasn't polite at all. Most importantly, the Nirvana elixir was too useful for them. Once their bloodline reached divine level 9, it would not be difficult for them to break through to the emperor level. There were only 9 Nirvana pills. Lu Ming only planned to give them to Yan Kuangtu and Fatty for the time being. This was because their bloodlines were the closest to the 9th level of the divine level, so they were the most useful. Lu Ming wanted to give the rest to Lu Yuntian. Lu Ming also wanted to help Li Ping cultivate martial arts. Only by cultivating martial arts could one's lifespan be extended and Li Ping could live for a longer time. Although Li Ping did not have the talent for cultivation and she was old, it was not a problem for Lu Ming with his current means. With the help of the Nirvana elixir and the awakening of Li Ping's bloodline, it would not be a problem for her to cultivate to the Martial King realm or even the Spirit Ocean realm. Also, his two in-named disciples Zhuang Xiaoshan and Zhuang Xiaoro. Ever since he had taken them in as his disciples, Lu Ming had not taught them well. As their master, Lu Ming was not very responsible. Therefore he had to leave 2 Nirvana pills for them. In that case there were only 3 Nirvana pills left. Lu Ming planned to keep them for now. Also, here's a secret technique that's suitable for you. 2 jade tokens flew out of Lu Ming's hands and flew towards Yan Kuangtu and the Fatty. After the two of them took a look, they were stunned again. Their eyes widened and their mouths opened so wide that they could swallow 2 duck eggs. They were shocked. They were too shocked. This was because the secret skill in the jade token was the cultivation method for a pure spirit body. Lu Ming made a few copies. There's actually such a profound secret technique in the world. Yan Kuangtu sighed and at the same time he was moved. He had been stuck at the supreme level for many years. Now that he had the Nirvana elixir and the pure spirit body, he was confident that he could break through to the Emperor realm in less than a year. Haha, Lu Ming, you're my lucky star. The fat man did not stand on ceremony and quickly kept the pure spirit body cultivation method. Lu Ming, thank you. Yan Kuangtu cupped his fists at Lu Ming solemnly. Big brother Yan, with our relationship, there's no need to thank me. Lu Ming smiled. After Yan Kuangtu and Fatty left, Lu Ming began to cultivate in seclusion with all his might. It was getting closer and closer to the 1-month deadline. Lu Ming wanted to improve his abilities as much as possible during this period of time. Only a pure spirit body could increase his strength in a short time. Therefore, Lu Ming put all his effort into cultivating the pure spirit body. A huge amount of raw gemstones were refined by Lu Ming and turned into the strength of his physical body. Finally, after half a month, the pure spirit body made another breakthrough and reached 60%. Lu Ming's ability would increase with every 10% increase in his strength. At this time, there was still a week left before the 1-month deadline. I should go to the heaven-suppressing divine army. Lu Ming took a step out of the secret cultivation room. Not long after, Lu Ming and Xiao Wan broke through the void and left the 100 Beasts tribe. Chapter 1326. 1326 Chapter 1326 Heaven-Suppressing Divine Army. In Central Continent, near Northern Plains, there was a vast mountain range. This was where the Heaven-Suppressing Divine Army was located. The headquarters of the Heaven-Suppressing Divine Army was not originally here, but in the battle a few months ago, the headquarters of the Heaven-Suppressing Divine Army was defeated by the joint forces of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace and the Xia family. They suffered heavy losses and could only retreat to this place. In front of them there were mountains that looked like divine swords. They rose from the ground and formed a barrier. It was obvious that these mountains were pulled up from the ground by a peerless expert. Between each sword-shaped mountain peak, there were huge chains that connected them. On the chains and the mountain peaks, there were dense inscriptions. There were a few huge arrow towers on the peak of each mountain, and there were powerhouses guarding the towers. This kind of arrow tower was not an ordinary one. It needed a raw stone as a foundation and was activated by a martial arts master. When combined with a large array, it was extremely powerful and could even kill a spiritual god realm master. The space outside the sword-shaped mountain cracked open and 2 figures appeared. The heaven-suppressing divine army is indeed not simple. They can build such a huge project in just a few months. Lu Ming looked ahead and sighed. The heaven-suppressing divine army has been fighting against the Xia family for tens of thousands of years. They must have their own reasons. Xiao Wan said. Who is it? At this moment, an explosive shout came from the sword-shaped mountain peak. Then the air was torn apart. A few figures appeared in front of Xiao Wan and Lu Ming, exuding a powerful aura. Paragon. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The 3 figures that appeared were all supremes, and their powerful auras locked onto Lu Ming and Xiao Wan. You are the chaotic heavens divine warrior, Xiao Wan. The three men's expressions changed drastically upon seeing Xie Luan, and they cried out in alarm. I have something to discuss with the 100 Battles Martial Emperor. Please inform him. Xie Luan said. Yes, please wait a moment. In the face of an overlord like Xie Luan, the supreme martial artists did not dare to show the slightest neglect. They quickly took out their voice transmission jade talismans and sent out a message. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In the time it took to brew a cup of tea, a few beams of light shot out from the depths of the sword-shaped mountain peak and appeared in front of Lu Ming and the others. Their auras were vast and unpredictable. They were all emperors. The person in the lead had an even more vast and powerful aura, far stronger than an ordinary martial emperor. It was the Baijian martial emperor that Lu Ming had met before. Haha, brother Xie, what brings you here? The warring martial emperor laughed and looked at Xie Luan. Then he shifted his gaze away from Xie Luan and looked at Lu Ming. Then his face changed and he said, You, Lu Ming? His words shocked the other members of the heaven-suppressing divine army. The young man in front of him was Lu Ming. Now Lu Ming's reputation was like the sun in the sky. At such a young age he was able to kill an emperor and battle a peak level 2 martial royal realm expert. Such a prodigy had never appeared in the divine wilderness continent since ancient times. Lu Ming's current combat strength was already at the peak of the divine wilderness continent. He was the overlord of a region. How could the people of the heaven-suppressing divine army not be shocked? Junior Lu Ming greets the 100 Battles Martial Emperor. Lu Ming cupped his fist slightly. You're welcome, you're welcome. Little brother Lu, you're welcome. The Battle Martial Emperor quickly waved his hand and continued, It's rare for little brother Lu and brother Xie to come here today. It's really an honor. Come, please come in. Lu Ming and Xie Luan nodded and followed the warring martial emperor and the others into the sword-shaped mountain. So many experts. As soon as they entered the sword-shaped mountain peak, they saw that it was a mountain with rich spiritual qi and all kinds of buildings. In the vast mountains, Lu Ming could sense powerful auras. They were all experts. The heaven-suppressing divine legion and some of their allies gathered together, so naturally there were many experts. Furthermore, there were many soldiers in iron armor patrolling everywhere. The military was in high spirits. However, Lu Ming could see one thing in the strong and prosperous army. It was the low morale. Yes, their morale was low. Not long ago, the heaven-suppressing divine army had suffered a crushing defeat. Even a few emperors had fallen. Their morale was naturally not very good. Everyone came to a large hall and sat down in their respective positions. Soon, more people came to the hall, all high-level figures of the heaven-suppressing divine army, at least supreme figures. There were even 9 emperors. The heaven-suppressing divine army itself did not have that many emperors. That was because some of the overlord forces had formed an alliance with the heaven-suppressing divine army. With the current situation in the divine wilderness, they would naturally gather together. I didn't expect that brother Lu and brother Xie would come here today. Come, let me toast to you too. The 100 Battles Martial Emperor raised his wine cup and drank it in one gulp. He was quite forthright. Lu Ming and Xie Luan also took a sip symbolically. The warring martial emperor drank a cup of wine with a smile on his face. He then turned to Lu Ming and Xie Luan and said, If I'm not wrong, the two of you are here today for the holy city's matter that will happen in 7 days, right? Not bad. Lu Ming said. The warring martial emperor went straight to the point, and Lu Ming also spoke frankly. Oh, I wonder what's the purpose of you two coming to the heaven-suppressing divine legion? The battle martial emperor asked. Our purpose is simple. We invite the heaven-suppressing divine legion to fight against the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace and the Xie family in the sacred city 7 days later. We will decide the winner in one battle. Lu Ming spoke in a sonorous and powerful voice. What? Hearing this, everyone in the heaven-suppressing divine army changed their expressions. The hall suddenly became silent. After a long while, someone finally spoke. Fight against the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace and the Xie clan? It's really laughable. Even if you all join us, you're still far from being the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace and the Xie family's match. You'll only be courting death if you go. An emperor in armor sneered. If we don't fight with them, when the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace and Xie clan form an alliance, they will attack the heaven-suppressing divine army and northern plains. At that time we will still die, we will only be able to survive for a few more days. Lu Ming sneered in response. But 7 days later, when we go to the holy city, we will die immediately. If we delay for a while longer, there might be a chance for us to turn things around. The Armor Emperor said. The other members of the heaven-suppressing divine army did not say anything, but their eyes told Lu Ming that they had the same thoughts as the Armor Emperor. You're just afraid of DE and the two masters beside him. Let us deal with DE and the two masters. You only need to deal with the Xie family. How about it? Lu Ming said. Are you going to deal with the three experts? The Battle Martial Emperor's eyes flickered with suspicion. He obviously didn't believe it. Can you deal with those three experts? Hehe, do you think we're fools? I believe that the Chaotic Heavens Divine Warrior can deal with one person, but who can deal with the other two? Lu Ming, you? The King of Armor looked at Lu Ming with disdain. Although it's rumored that you can fight a Level 2 Martial Emperor, the opponent has an Emperor's spiritual weapon. Moreover, the rumors are exaggerated. Can you really fight a peak Level 2 Martial Emperor? Or do you really have the combat strength of an Emperor? The Armored Martial Emperor said with a cold smile. The others, including the Battle Martial Emperor, looked at Lu Ming with suspicion. Chapter 1327. 1327 Chapter 1327 Defeating the Emperor in 3 moves. It was rumored that Lu Ming's combat strength was unparalleled and he could fight against a peak Level 2 Martial Royal Realm expert. But in their hearts they didn't really believe it. This was especially so when they saw that Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the Great Circle of the Spiritual God Realm. It was simply nonsense for a Great Circle of the Spiritual God Realm to be able to fight a peak 2nd level Martial Emperor. They felt that the rumor was too exaggerated. Indeed, who would believe such a thing without seeing it with their own eyes? What's wrong? Do you want to try? Lu Ming looked at the Armored Martial Emperor with a faint smile. That's right. I have the same intention. I don't believe that a mere spirit god can defeat an emperor. The Armored Martial Emperor suddenly stood up, and an extremely strong fighting spirit emanated from his body. This was a person who loved to battle. Most people in the heaven-suppressing divine army love to fight. All right, since that's the case, let's fight outside. Lu Ming stood up and took a step forward. He appeared in the sky outside the hall. Today he knew it would not be so simple. If he did not show some of his skills, the heaven-suppressing divine army would not dare to bet on him. The Armored Martial Emperor also flew out of the hall and stood in the sky facing Lu Ming. Let's go out and take a look. The rest of the people left the hall and stood in the air. The cultivators in other places of the heaven-suppressing divine army also sensed the situation here. They rose into the air one after another and looked over. Lu Ming, make your move. Show me what you've got. The Armored Martial Emperor's fighting spirit was getting stronger and stronger. If you want me to make the first move, sure, 3 moves. If you can take 3 of my moves and not be defeated, I admit defeat. Lu Ming extended 3 fingers and said. What? 3 moves? Lu Ming is so arrogant. Does he really have the combat strength of a peak Level 2 Martial Royal Realm expert? I don't believe it. Lu Ming's words caused a commotion and heated discussion. The warring Martial Emperor sneaked a glance at Xiao Wan, only to see him standing there with a calm smile on his face, as if he had already known the result. Could it be that Lu Ming is really as terrifying as the rumors say? Even now, the Battle Martial Emperor still found it hard to believe. Good, I'll see how you're going to defeat me in 3 moves. The Armored Martial Emperor's eyes flickered with anger. Boom. A powerful aura burst out of his body, and his genuine vitality burned like flames. His territory spread out and his muscles swelled. In an instant, the Armored Martial Emperor's strength was raised to the extreme. Although he did not believe that Lu Ming was as exaggerated as the rumors, there was no smoke without fire. He would not be careless when he was facing Lu Ming. Buzz. Casting the Wind Elemental technique, Lu Ming's figure flickered and rushed toward the Armored Martial Emperor like a phantom. At the same time, dragon roars were heard and 9 streams of dragon energy burst out. Boom. Lu Ming threw a punch and the prison-suppressing steel shadow appeared on his fist. So strong. The Armored Martial Emperor's expression changed drastically when he saw Lu Ming's punch. The power of this punch shocked him and made him feel great pressure. The heaven-suppressing divine army's expressions changed drastically. The power of this punch was too terrifying. It wasn't something a spirit god expert could release. It had reached the Emperor level. Block it. The Armored Martial Emperor roared and punched out. The 2 fists met in the air. Boom. Rings of shock waves spread out in all directions. The realm covering the armored martial emperor's body trembled violently, as if it would collapse at any time. Then his face turned pale and his body flew backward with a bang. The armored martial emperor was sent flying with one punch, which made the people of the heaven-suppressing divine army gasp. The armored martial emperor only managed to stabilize himself after flying for 100 miles. The second move. "Let's go," Lu Ming said calmly. He took a step forward and traveled 100 miles in an instant. At the same time, the third bloodline appeared above his head. A wave of energy surged into Lu Ming's body and his strength increased again. Boom. The second punch was thrown. Explosive army-shattering fist. The armored martial emperor roared and his hair stood up. He exerted all his combat strength and punched out. The two of them exchanged a second punch. But this time the armored martial emperor was even more miserable. His domain was instantly destroyed and his body and arms made cracking sounds. His body flew far away and blood spurted out of his mouth. The armored martial emperor was severely injured by the second move. "Do you want another round?" Lu Ming's indifferent voice was heard. "Again?" The armored martial emperor roared. He was an emperor. He would not allow himself to be unable to withstand 3 moves from Lu Ming. He had to survive 3 moves. Boom. The armored martial emperor's body swelled up. At the same time, a huge shield appeared in his hand. His territory covered the shield, giving it an indestructible feeling. This move he took a defensive stance. The third move. "Let's go," Lu Ming shouted. He stepped into the air and threw his third punch. Lu Ming did not use the prison-suppressing heavenly art for this punch. Instead he used a martial technique of intent. The fusion of 5 martial techniques of intent. Right now, the fusion of 5 martial arts techniques had a might that surpassed the prison-suppressing heaven technique. The main thing was that with the upgrade of the prison-suppressing steel's bloodline, the level of the prison-suppressing heavenly technique had long surpassed the low-grade divine-level martial arts technique. With Lu Ming's current cultivation, he could not unleash the full power of the prison-suppressing heavenly technique. When Lu Ming's cultivation level broke through to the martial royal realm and his essential core was strong, the power of the prison-suppressing heaven technique would naturally increase. Clang. The punch hit the armored martial emperor's shield. The shield was covered with a realm, but under this punch the realm collapsed instantly like a blister. The shield let out a violent boom, forming a sound wave that spread out, tearing the space apart. Then a shocking scene appeared. The shield was changing its shape. The spot where Lu Ming's fist landed on the shield caved in. The armored martial emperor's expression changed drastically in an instant. Bang. The armored martial emperor couldn't hold the shield at all, and the heavy shield hit him like a mountain. Pili Pala. A series of bone-breaking sounds came from the armored martial emperor's body. His body flew far away and fell on the ground. He spat out a mouthful of blood and couldn't move for a while. The armored martial emperor had been defeated. He had been completely defeated. Facing Lu Ming, he was suppressed and had almost no power to resist. Gulp. Many people swallowed their saliva and looked at Lu Ming with eyes full of horror. They no longer had any doubts. Lu Ming's combat strength completely overpowered an ordinary martial emperor. It would not be too difficult for him to kill an armored martial emperor. Perhaps the rumors were not exaggerated and were true. The people of the heaven-suppressing divine army changed their minds. Amazing, amazing. Little brother Lu is really unparalleled and the #1 in history. The battle martial emperor strode out with a look of admiration on his face. But then, the Baijian martial emperor changed his tone and said, "However, I still want to learn from you. It's not that I doubt brother Lu, but I have to be responsible for all the members of the heaven-suppressing divine legion." The warring martial emperor stood in front of Lu Ming. A powerful aura rose from his body, which was several times stronger than that of the armored martial emperor. He was right. For the sake of the heaven-suppressing divine legion, he had to know Lu Ming's combat strength clearly. "Make your move." Lu Ming's gaze shifted to the warring martial emperor. Chapter 1328. 1328 Chapter 1328 Unparalleled Combat Strength. Fight. Without saying anything else, Baijian martial emperor took a big step forward, and an invincible fighting will burst out of his body. With a wave of his hand, the sky and earth collapsed. His power was much stronger than that of the armored martial emperor. The combat strength of a Level 2 Martial Royal Realm expert far exceeded that of a Level 1 Martial Royal Realm expert. Lu Ming did not dare to be careless. He fused the 5 concepts and threw a punch. Boom. When the 2 fists collided, Lu Ming felt an immense force surge towards him. He could not help but be pushed back. The qi and blood in his body churned and he felt a sharp pain in his fist. Thump. Thump. The warring martial emperor stomped on the ground and continued to charge toward Lu Ming like an invincible god of war. The 100 Battles Martial Emperor was also known as the 100 Battles Martial Emperor. He had fought countless battles and had rich combat experience. His moves were simple but they were extremely powerful. He could kill with one strike. Roar. Lu Ming burst out the 9 Dragons bloodline and performed the bloodline fusion to fight against the warring martial emperor. Boom. 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 The 2 of them fought fiercely, from the ground to the sky, from the sky to the ground, and even to the other dimension. Lu Ming was at a complete disadvantage. He was no match for the warring martial emperor. Although the Baijian martial emperor's cultivation had not reached the peak of the 2nd level martial emperor realm, he was still at the middle stage. When Lu Ming used the chaos will, he could fight with a peak 2nd level martial emperor if he used his full strength. However, when he did not use the chaos will, his combat strength was not as good as a Baijian martial emperor. In the blink of an eye, the 2 had exchanged dozens of moves. Lu Ming, is this your full combat strength? If that's the case, how can my heaven-suppressing divine army fight with you against the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace and the Xia family? The Battle Martial Emperor's voice rang out. The Emperor Sky Divine Palace and the Xia clan had formed an alliance, so their next target would definitely be the heaven-suppressing divine army or Northern Plains. How could the Battle Martial Emperor not know this? However, if he wanted to fight with Lu Ming and the rest, the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace and the Xia family, he had to see hope. Lu Ming was the hope. If Lu Ming was really as powerful as the rumors said, what was the harm in making a bet? If you want to see my full battle strength, there's no hurry. You can't defeat me now. Lu Ming let out a long roar and kept stepping out with his 9 dragon claws. The power of the 5 martial arts techniques of creation was unleashed to the extreme, and there were even signs of a breakthrough. Yes, Lu Ming's 5 types of martial arts techniques were already at the peak of the 4th level. He was only a step away from the 5th level. A battle-hardened martial emperor was a good training partner. After the battle with a battle-hardened martial emperor, Lu Ming's 5 types of martial arts techniques seemed to show signs of a breakthrough. Then I'll see how long you can hide it for. The warring martial emperor shouted coldly as a long spear appeared in his hand. The spear pierced through the air with even more astonishing power. An ordinary 1st level martial emperor would probably be killed in 2 moves. The 2 of them crossed paths and exchanged dozens of moves in the blink of an eye. Clang. All of a sudden, one of the 9 dragons' claws grabbed the spear's tip, producing a clanging sound. The 9 dragons retreated, but the battlefield's martial emperor's burly figure also trembled and retreated a few steps. You've made a breakthrough in your martial technique? The Battle Martial Emperor's voice was filled with disbelief. Haha, thank you, Martial Emperor, for helping me make another breakthrough in my martial technique. Lu Ming laughed heartily, feeling extremely carefree. This? The others were dumbfounded. During the battle between Lu Ming and the warring Martial Emperor, he had a breakthrough in his martial arts technique. This talent was too abnormal, right? It's just a martial technique that has broken through to a new level. Its power is limited. The Battle Martial Emperor's voice was heard and he continued to charge at Lu Ming. Is that so? Lu Ming smiled faintly and stretched out his dragon claw. Clang. After another exchange of blows with the warring Martial Emperor, Lu Ming retreated, but the latter also retreated much more than before. How is that possible? How can its power increase so much? The Battle Martial Emperor was in disbelief. Just now, Lu Ming was completely suppressed by the 100 Battle Martial Emperor. He had to dodge most of the attacks and did not face them head-on. However, Lu Ming's martial technique had only been upgraded by 1 level. How could its power increase so much? Of course, he did not know that Lu Ming had not improved 1 martial arts technique but 5. Lu Ming had combined the 5 martial arts techniques. Therefore, when he broke through, he would break through with all 5 martial arts techniques at the same time. Naturally, his power would increase. He wasn't a match at all earlier, but now he could barely hold his ground. Thanks for your help, Martial Emperor. It's time to end this battle, Lu Ming said. As soon as he finished speaking, a chaotic aura emanated from the 9 dragons. Chaos intent. Boom. Die. The 9 dragons used the prison-suppressing heavenly art and swiped out with their claws, which were surrounded by chaos intent. 100 Battle God Fist. The warring martial emperor put away his spear and performed his strongest unique skill. In an instant, the Baijian martial emperor punched out 100 times. Each punch contained a monstrous combat power that could penetrate the earth and destroy mountains and rivers. 100 dazzling fist forces gathered in the air and merged into one fist force. Its power increased sharply. Boom. The fist force collided with the dragon claws of the 9 dragons. However, as soon as they came into contact, the battle martial emperor's fist force was instantly crushed and exploded like a firework. The dragon claw didn't stop, crushing the void. As if struck by lightning, Baijian martial emperor vomited blood and was sent flying thousands of miles away, leaving a long dark space tunnel in the space. He looked at Lu Ming in shock and then spat out another mouthful of blood. The others were not any better. Dumbfounded. The 100 battles martial emperor had been defeated. Was this Lu Ming's true strength? He was so powerful that he had injured 100 battles martial emperor with one move. With such combat strength he could really fight with a peak level 2 martial royal realm expert. The rumors were not exaggerated at all. Martial Emperor, do you want to continue? Lu Ming's voice came out of the 9 dragons' mouths. No need. The battle martial emperor sighed and shook his head. Your combat strength is definitely comparable to the peak of the level 2 martial royal realm. If we continue fighting, I won't be your match. Why are you embarrassing yourself? After saying that, the aura of the 100 battles martial emperor was retracted. The 9 dragons' bodies shrank, and Lu Ming returned to his original form. Good, good, good. Suddenly an old voice rang out saying good 3 times. In the distant sky, a hunched old man stepped through the air. The old man was very old. The white hair on his head was almost all gone. His skin was shriveled and his face was full of wrinkles. However, all the members of the heaven-suppressing divine army, including the battle martial emperor, hurriedly saluted the old man when they saw him. Greetings, General. General. Lu Ming's eyes flickered as he sized up the old man with a hint of solemnness in his eyes. Although this old man looked very old, Lu Ming did not dare to underestimate him. That was because Lu Ming could sense a terrifying aura in the old man's body. Peak level 2 martial royal realm. The old man was actually a peak level 2 martial royal realm expert. I've long heard that there's an old general in the heaven-suppressing divine army who has unparalleled battle strength. I've never seen him before. Today I finally see him. Xiao Wan walked out, a smile on his face. I pay my respects to the Chaotic Sky Emperor. The old general saluted the Chaotic Sky Emperor. Chapter 1329. 1329 Chapter 1329 Sneaking into Holy City. Lu Ming sighed in his heart. The heaven-suppressing divine legion was indeed not simple. There was such a powerful person hiding in the dark. He had not appeared in the previous conquests. If even the heaven-suppressing divine army was like this, how could the Xie family, which had a deeper foundation, not have any hidden cards? The old general of the heaven-suppressing divine army saluted Xiao Wan first, then turned to Lu Ming with a warm smile. It's true that every generation has its own talents. This old man is impressed by little brother Lu's strength. You're too kind, old general. Lu Ming cupped his fist. Chaotic Sky Emperor, little brother Lu, I can give you a definite answer. The heaven-suppressing divine army will definitely participate in the battle 7 days later. The old general said. Lu Ming and Xiao Wan were overjoyed. The old general's words meant that he had agreed to join forces with them 7 days later and head to the sacred city to fight the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace and the Xie clan. The battle martial emperor and the other experts of the heaven-suppressing divine army were surprised, but they didn't say anything. They also understood that the heaven-suppressing divine army could not stay out of this battle. If Northern Plains were defeated, heaven-suppressing divine army would not be able to escape the fate of being destroyed. This alliance with Northern Plains was their only chance. All right, old general. Everyone will meet in 7 days. See you in 7 days. Lu Ming and Xiao Wan said their goodbyes and left. The goal of this trip could be considered to be a complete success. After returning to the 100 Beasts tribe, Lu Ming continued to cultivate in seclusion. 4 days later, there were only 3 days left before the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace and the Xie clan formed an alliance. In a secret room, Lu Ming's glabella glowed and he stepped out of Lu Ming's body. Then Lu Ming's main body waved his hand and the mountain and river diagram flew to his clone, which then kept it. Then the main body closed his eyes while the second body smiled. Let's go to the holy city first. The second body smiled, took a step forward and disappeared. After a while, the second body had already appeared hundreds of millions of li away from the 100 Beast tribe. Lu Ming's plan was to let the second clone enter the holy city first to inquire about the 9 Sons Supreme by Shijin and the others. Lu Ming's mind sank into the clone. The clone was just like his main body. Let's change our appearance first. Lu Ming took out a long gray robe and put it on. At the same time his figure and face began to change. Finally he turned into a young man with a sallow face. His appearance was very ordinary, the kind of appearance and body that would not be easily discovered in a crowd. Then runes appeared on Lu Ming's body. He began to restrain his aura until he was only a 7th-rank alchemist. Then he took a step forward and space cracked open. Lu Ming disappeared from the place. He had refined his second body and reached the level of a 9th-grade emperor. His speed was extremely fast. In less than half a day the holy city appeared in front of him. There were experts guarding the city gates of the holy city. The checks were extremely strict. Everyone who entered had to go through a strict examination. However, Lu Ming had inherited the legacy of the mysterious Sky Saint and was proficient in the Tao of inscriptions. He had concealed himself with inscriptions and arrays, and even an emperor would not be able to detect him. Lu Ming entered the holy city easily. There are so many people. Walking on the streets of the holy city, Lu Ming realized that there were more people coming and going in the holy city than when he was in the past. It was normal to think about it. There were still a few days left before the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace and the Xia clan would hold the alliance ceremony. Right now, the Xia clan and their allies had all entered the sacred city. Also, many of the powers that the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace belonged to had also come to the sacred city. Naturally, the sacred city would be very lively. This evening, the Xia family Xia Yan, Xia Zhen, and the other princes will be hosting a banquet at the drunken immortal court to welcome the Southern Nether's peerless genius, Dark Child. At that time, all young geniuses are welcome to attend. Lu Ming had just entered the holy city when he heard this piece of news. Dark Child. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a cold glint. In the end, only Dark Child, the unscrupulous monk and the moonless female bodhisattva had returned from the trip to the divine ruins. However, Long Chen had not returned and no one knew what had happened. Lu Ming really wanted to know. Then the drunken immortal garden will definitely be very lively this evening. We can't miss such a grand scene. Indeed. Back then, 12 top geniuses went to the divine ruins continent, but only 3 returned. 2 of them were from the Western Desert, and the Western Desert Saint Monk has always stayed out of it. In other words, Dark Child is the top genius now. That's right. In the future, Dark Child is destined to roam the divine wilderness. That's why the prince of the Xia family specially invited Dark Child to a banquet to curry favor with him. Many people were discussing and Lu Ming had heard a lot of news. Lu Ming's lips curled into a mocking smile and he strolled casually on the streets. Very soon, it was evening and Lu Ming headed towards the drunken immortal garden. The drunken immortal court was quite famous in the sacred city. The environment inside was elegant, and there was a place for experts to spar, so it became a gathering place for some martial arts experts. At the entrance of the drunken immortal court, there were many young and outstanding people walking in and out. At the main entrance there were people checking, but they usually only checked casually before letting people in. They entered the drunken immortal court and came to an empty space. The empty space was filled with tables and chairs, and many people had already taken their seats. Lu Ming swept his gaze and saw many familiar faces. Many of them were second and third-class geniuses from the overlord forces. Lu Ming saw more familiar figures on the platform at the top. Xia Yan, Xia Zhen and the other princes of the Xia family, as well as Wu Qingkong, the heaven's favorite of the Heavenly Martial Sword sect. Previously, Lu Ming knew that the Heavenly Martial Sword sect had already submitted to the Ditian Divine Palace. Therefore, Wu Qingkong and the others had also become members of the Ditian Divine Palace. Dark Child is here. Someone said. In the distance, a black-robed young man with his hands behind his back was walking in the air. He exuded a domineering aura that showed that he was the only one in the world. This person was Dark Child. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Xia Yan, Xia Zhen, Wu Qingkong, and the others quickly flew into the sky to welcome Dark Child. Haha, it's my honor that Brother Ming is willing to come. Xie Yin laughed heartily. Not bad, not bad. Brother Ming's arrival is truly an honor, Xie Jin said, unwilling to be outdone. Following that, the other heaven's favorites started to flatter him. Now, among the younger generation of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace, including the Xie family, Ming Zi was the #1 and the only giant-level Heaven's Pride expert. His future achievements would be limitless, so they naturally had to firmly establish a relationship with him. And everyone is too polite. Dark Child put his hands behind his back and spoke indifferently, looking like he was above everyone. Xie Zhen and the others didn't mind. They welcomed Dark Child to the platform and continued to flatter him. Ming Zi pursed his lips and pretended to be calm, but he was actually enjoying it. He enjoyed this feeling very much. He was intoxicated by the feeling of being surrounded by a myriad of stars. In the past, he had been the center of attention, a giant-level prodigy of the divine wilderness continent, standing at the peak. But after all, there were more than 10 people who could compete with him. His presence had undoubtedly weakened a lot. But now it was different. Everything was centered around him and he was enjoying it too much. Chapter 1330. 1330 Xie Zhen's Dirty Methods. Right now, in the entire divine wilderness, the Western Desert does not care about worldly affairs. Among the younger generation, other than Lu Ming, Brother Ming is the most powerful. A voice suddenly rang out among the compliments. The scene suddenly became quiet. Lu Ming. It was as if Lu Ming's name had a magical power that made everyone shut up. Everyone looked at each other, but no one spoke. Lu Ming's name was like a huge mountain, pressing down on everyone's hearts. He was of the same generation as them, but with his current combat strength, he was able to kill an emperor. He was able to fight against a peak level 2 martial royal realm expert. He was already standing at the peak of the divine wilderness continent, looking down on the world. Among his peers, no one could compare to Lu Ming. The so-called geniuses here were far too inferior when compared to Lu Ming. The difference was too great. Dark Child's face also darkened, a cold light flashing in his eyes. The young man who had just spoken turned pale and broke out in a cold sweat. He knew that he had said the wrong thing. He had wanted to flatter Ming Zi, but he subconsciously added Lu Ming's name. Brother Ming, please forgive me, I didn't mean to. The young man quickly apologized and stuttered. It would have been better if he didn't explain. The moment he did, Dark Child's face turned even gloomier. What an idiot, get lost. Xie Zhen berated, and the young man hurriedly took his leave. Humph, Lu Ming may be strong, but he doesn't know how to judge the situation. He won't live for long. He'll die eventually. When that time comes, who in the world can compete with Brother Ming? Xie Zhen continued. Hearing this, Dark Child's face looked a little better. That's right. Lu Ming won't be able to live for long. He still wants to go against the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace and the Xie clan. He's simply courting death. Even if such a brainless person has some combat strength temporarily, he's still a brainless boor. In my opinion, he's far inferior to Brother Dark Child. The others immediately followed suit and started to flatter him. Dark Child's face revealed a smile again. You're right. Lu Ming's talent is average. It's just that he's lucky, so his combat power is slightly stronger than mine. However, because of this, he's arrogant and condescending. Back in the Divine Ruins continent, he even dared to offend the pride of the Yuan continent's big sect, the Tianshan sect. Such a brainless person will definitely have limited achievements. Even if he doesn't die in the Divine Wilderness continent, he will be killed by the experts of the Tianshan sect. Dark Child said disdainfully. Brother Dark Child is right. Brother Ming is right. The others were full of compliments. Brother Ming, how about I invite you to watch a good show? Xie Zhen said with a smile. Oh, what good show? Dark Child revealed an interested expression. Brother Ming, please wait. Xie Zhen laughed, and then his voice spread far and wide. Bring the person up. Yes. Yes. Someone replied in the distance. Not long after, a group of Imperial Dragon Guards led a dozen people over. Sun Lin Taixing. In the crowd, Lu Ming's eyes gleamed coldly. The dozen or so people who were brought here were actually the law enforcement officers that Lu Ming had met when he joined the law enforcement army in the Holy City. Tai Xing, the black gorilla man, Sun Lin, the middle-aged man who had been transferred to the law enforcement army from the Imperial Dragon Guard with him by Xie Zhen. At this moment, Tai Xing and the others were in a sorry state. Their breathing was shallow and their faces were pale. It was obvious that they had suffered heavy injuries. Very quickly, Tai Xing and the rest were brought to Xie Zhen and the others. Who are they? Mingzi was slightly stunned. He didn't understand why Xie Zhen had brought more than a dozen burly men here. Brother Ming, these people are on very good terms with Lu Ming. They were his subordinates in the past. Xie Zhen said. Xie Zhen, you're despicable and shameless. You actually want us to slander the commander. You're dreaming. Tai Xing roared. Shut up, what slander? Xie Zhen berated. His eyes were cold as he said, I'll give you one more chance. Tell me, did Lu Ming use despicable means to kill others to cultivate his martial arts? Also, did he specifically harm young girls and take their yin to supplement yang? That's why his cultivation improved so quickly. You're his subordinates, so you should be very clear about it. Let me remind you before you speak, you'd better think carefully. Don't forget the fate of your companions. Xie Zhen said coldly as he scanned Tai Xing's body with his cold eyes. The expressions of Tai Xing and the others were ugly, and a few of them looked terrified. Bullshit. Don't even think about slandering the commander. The commander is a man of indomitable spirit. Why would he do such a thing? Tai Xing roared. That's right. The commander would never do such a thing. Don't even think about using us to ruin the commander's reputation. You've killed so many of our brothers. The commander will definitely come back to avenge us. Someone else also shouted. In the crowd, Lu Ming's gaze turned colder. He roughly knew what was going on. Back then, Lu Ming was on good terms with the law enforcement army. It was obvious that Xie Zhen had taken down the law enforcement army and wanted to force them to slander Lu Ming, saying that Lu Ming had done evil things like gathering yin to supplement yang. That was why his cultivation level had progressed so quickly. In that case, not only could he ruin Lu Ming's reputation, but he could also enrage Lu Ming. There would be a higher chance of Lu Ming appearing at the alliance ceremony in a few days' time, and he could then kill him. However, the law enforcement army did not obey. Furthermore, from the conversation of the crowd, the other members of the law enforcement army had already been killed by Xie Zhen. There were only a dozen or so people left. Damn it. The killing intent in Lu Ming's heart was as cold as a knife. Xie Zhen's expression was extremely gloomy as he berated, I'll give you one more chance. Tell me or not. If you don't die. Don't even think about it, I'd rather die than do such a despicable thing. Tai Xing roared. The others also glared at him angrily as if they were not afraid of death. The law enforcement army had a low status in the imperial city and lived a miserable life. In order to survive, they had to please both sides and lived without dignity. It was Lu Ming. Lu Ming was the one who made them hold their heads high and puffed out their chests. After Lu Ming joined the law enforcement army, they could finally hold their heads up high and enforce the law on behalf of the Sage Emperor. They returned to the time 30,000 years ago when the law enforcement army dominated the world. Therefore they were very grateful to Lu Ming. They could not slander Lu Ming. Xie Zhen, as a prince, you did such a dirty thing. You're really a disgrace to the imperial family and the Xie family. Tai Xing continued to shout. Shut up. You're looking for death. Xie Zhen was furious. A saber appeared in his hand and he slashed at Tai Xing's neck. He had brought Tai Xing and the others over to curry favor with Dark Child, but he had not expected them to bite him back and damage his reputation. He wanted nothing more than to cut them into pieces. The blade light was cold and as fast as lightning as it slashed towards Tai Xing. At this moment, Tai Xing's cultivation was sealed and his breathing was shallow. It was impossible for him to dodge. In a moment, Tai Xing's blood was about to splatter and he would die under Xie Zhen's saber. Whoosh! At that moment, a wine cup flew out from the crowd and hit Xie Zhen's saber. Clang! An inscription flashed on the wine cup, and it collided with the saber. Buzz! The battle saber trembled and hummed as it flew far away. Xie Zhen's expression changed drastically as he retreated 7 or 8 steps and fell on his butt. Chapter 1331. 1331 Chapter 1331 Want to be abused again. Who is it? Xie Yan berated. At this moment, Xie Zhen also reacted. His face was flushed red as he crawled up from the ground. His eyes flickered with a surging killing intent as he looked around and roared, Who is it? Who is it? If you dare to attack me, come out and face your death. Under everyone's watchful eyes, Xie Zhen's battle blade was hit by a wine cup and he fell to the ground. This was undoubtedly an embarrassing matter, and it made Xie Zhen's killing intent reach its peak. Hee hee. A chuckle came from the crowd, and a young man with a sallow face stepped out. This young man was Lu Ming. Even though he did not have a particularly deep relationship with Tai Xing and the others, they had worked together for a while and had gotten along for a period of time. Moreover, Tai Xing and the others were implicated because of him. How could Lu Ming sit by and do nothing? Lu Ming was the one who threw the wineglass just now. You are a prince, yet you are doing such a despicable thing. You are a despicable man. The ancient Saint dynasty only has them slaviers to blame for what they have done. Lu Ming sneered and walked towards Xie Zhen. How audacious. Impudent. You're looking for death. Some of the Xie family's princes present berated him and stared at Lu Ming with cold eyes. Brat, you dare to interfere in my business? Since you're here today, don't leave. Xie Zhen's voice was cold. He waved his hand and said, attack and cripple his cultivation. Yes. 7 or 8 Imperial Dragon Guards flew out, unsheathing all kinds of weapons as they charged at Lu Ming. However, the cultivation of these Imperial Dragon Guards was only at the 9th level of the Spirit Embryo realm. They were not worth mentioning in Lu Ming's eyes. Buzz. Inscriptions suddenly glowed on the ground, and a great formation appeared. In the formation, more than a dozen long sticks condensed and smashed toward the Imperial Dragon Guards. Bang. Ah. Instantly, the sounds of whipping and screams of pain joined together. The Imperial Dragon Guards didn't have the slightest strength to fight back under the long staff strikes. In the blink of an eye, they were all whipped to the ground. Each of them had been hit more than a dozen times, their skin and flesh split open. It was a terrible sight. You. Xie Zhen's face turned pale as he retreated. His cultivation was only at the 9th level of the Spirit Embryo realm, not much stronger than those Imperial Dragon Guards. Lu Ming could easily beat up 7 to 8 Imperial Dragon Guards, so he was naturally not a match for him. Humph, so you're an inscription master. Xie Yan coldly snorted, a powerful aura exuding from his body. Xie Yan was a second-grade heaven's favorite. His cultivation had long broken through to the spiritual god realm, and his combat strength was powerful, much stronger than Xie Zhen's. 10th Prince, this person is extremely daring. Since he dares to attack us here, I think he must have been sent by Lu Ming. Let me kill him. A voice rang out from behind Xie Yan. A young figure stepped out and appeared in front of Xie Yan. Wu Qingkong. He was Wu Qingkong, the #1 genius of the Heavenly Sword faction. Wu Qingkong is going to attack. This man is dead. In recent years, Wu Qingkong's cultivation has become more and more terrifying. This man is dead for sure. This person is also stupid. He dared to make a move in such an occasion. It would be strange if he didn't die. The scene was filled with discussions. Now there were only a few big shots left in the Divine Wilderness continent. Wu Qingkong was one of the strongest people below the big shots. His status was naturally not ordinary, second only to Ming Zi. With Brother Wu here, I can rest assured. Xie Yan said as he took 2 steps back. Brat, are you going to surrender or wait for me to make a move? Wu Qingkong's eyes were as sharp as 2 swords. Wu Qingkong, back then you were repeatedly abused by Lu Ming. Instead of hiding and cultivating, you dared to come out and bark. Aren't you afraid of being abused again? Lu Ming curled his lips and said sarcastically. Shut up, you're looking for death. Wu Qingkong was furious. Back then he had been ruthlessly abused by Lu Ming time and time again. That was his dark history and a disgrace to him. He would be furious whenever anyone mentioned it in front of him. I'll cut off your 4 limbs and make you wish you were dead. Wu Qingkong bellowed. He unsheathed his sword and slashed at Lu Ming with terrifying sword chi. So strong. 3rd level of the spiritual god realm. This is the 3rd level of the spiritual god realm. Wu Qingkong has broken through to the 3rd level of the spiritual god realm. Wu Qingkong's attack caused a wave of exclamations. At the 3rd level of the spiritual god realm, apart from those big shots and geniuses, who else could compete with him? In their hearts, Lu Ming was dead for sure. After all, Lu Ming did not look very old. He was very young and belonged to the younger generation. But he had never seen him before, so he was obviously not famous. How powerful could an unknown young man be to be able to fight with Wu Qingkong? Buzz. An inscription appeared in front of Lu Ming once again. a formation emerged. It was exactly the same as the one that had brutally tortured the Imperial Dragon Guards earlier. More than a dozen long sticks appeared and struck toward Wu Qingkong. Buzz. The sword chi whistled through the air, and with a single slash the dozen or so staves were all cut in half. The sword chi did not stop and continued to slash at Lu Ming. Bang, bang, bang. Lu Ming took a few steps and dense runes appeared on the ground. Another array appeared. It was the same as the previous one with more than 10 long rods. However, as the sword chi swept past, the dozen or so long staves were cut into two again. But immediately, another formation appeared, and the long stick formed again. He's using such a formation against Wu Qingkong. He's dead for sure. This is all this person has. He dares to be so arrogant here. He really doesn't know what's good for him. Someone sneered in disdain. Whoosh, whoosh. The sword chi whistled and the long sticks were cut in half. Let's end this. Wu Qingkong roared and shook his sword. The sword radiance flashed and dozens of sword chi were sent toward Lu Ming. Each beam of sword chi was extremely powerful. That kid is dead for sure, everyone thought. However, Lu Ming's expression was calm as if he did not see the sword aura. He took another light step. Buzz, buzz, whoosh. This time, more than a dozen formations appeared on the ground. All of them were identical and formed a long stick. In total, hundreds of long staffs were thrown at Wu Qingkong. So what if there are many? Break. Wu Qingkong shouted, and his sword chi became stronger. However, the next moment his expression changed drastically. Originally, those long sticks were no different from dead branches in his eyes. He could easily cut them with his sword. But this time, when the sword chi hit the long sticks, there were clanking sounds and sparks, but the long sticks were intact. On the contrary, the sword chi that he had released was destroyed by the long stick. Break. Wu Qingkong's expression changed. He raised his cultivation to the extreme and slashed out with his sword. Clang, clang, clang. However, his sword chi was completely useless against those long staffs. As the long staff struck down, his sword chi dispersed. How did this happen? Wu Qingkong panicked. Chapter 1332. 1332 Searching Your Soul. Wu Qingkong panicked and was shocked. Without any hesitation, Wu Qingkong used the bloodline fusion and turned into a sword. He slashed at the long sticks. Clang, clang. The staff hit Wu Qingkong's sword, which shook violently. In a few seconds the sword collapsed and turned back into a human. No! Run! Wu Qingkong shouted in fear. He kept spitting out blood and tried to escape. However, the long staff surrounded him from all directions, sealing off all his escape routes. A few hundred sticks were thrown at Wu Qingkong. Wu Qingkong was completely drowned in the shadows of the sticks. Ah! Ah! A shrill scream reverberated throughout the drunken immortal garden. Everyone who was watching the battle looked at each other. How did this happen? This result was completely different from what they had expected. Wu Qingkong was the strongest Heaven's favorite below the big shot Heaven's favorites. His cultivation had even reached the third level of the spiritual god realm. How many people in the younger generation of the divine wilderness continent could be his match? Furthermore, it was Lu Ming, a kid that she did not know at all. It was a matter of killing him in one move. However, the result was completely beyond everyone's expectations. Lu Ming had cast the same array. But wasn't the formation weak at the beginning? It couldn't stop Wu Qingkong at all. Why did it suddenly become so powerful? The staff became so powerful that even Wu Qingkong couldn't stop it. The shrill screams were still echoing. After the time it took to brew a cup of tea, the hundreds of sticks disappeared, revealing Wu Qingkong's figure. Tragic, it was really too tragic. Everyone who saw Wu Qingkong's figure could not help but think of the word tragic. Wu Qingkong was lying on the ground like a dead dog. He had been hit so many times that his clothes were in tatters. His body was covered with rod marks. His face was like a pig's head, his nose was broken and his teeth were all gone. If no one had said that it was Wu Qingkong, no one would have recognized him. Most importantly, Wu Qingkong's aura was extremely weak. His cultivation had been crippled. The attack had destroyed Wu Qingkong's cultivation. He was now a cripple. Many people gasped and shivered. In particular, some second and third grade geniuses could not help but step back. They looked at Lu Ming with grave expressions. Who was this person? Where did he come from? How could he be so strong? Furthermore, this person cultivated in the Tao of inscription. In the divine wilderness continent, there were countless geniuses in the Tao of inscription. There was no one who could defeat Wu Qingkong. They racked their brains but couldn't figure out who this person was. Could this person be Lu Ming? He had never heard of Lu Ming having such deep attainments in the Tao of inscription. Who are you? Dark Child's gaze was sinister as he stared at Lu Ming, trying to figure out something from Lu Ming's expression. However, he was disappointed. Lu Ming's expression was very calm and he could not figure out anything at all. Who am I? You don't have the right to know. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Hee, how arrogant. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you defeated Wu Qingkong. I can kill him with a snap of my fingers. Dark Child glanced at Wu Qingkong and smiled disdainfully. Bang. Then Dark Child stepped forward, his aura rising crazily. Today was a banquet that was specially held for him, but Lu Ming had continuously attacked him, injured Xie Zhen and crippled Wu Qingkong. This was a complete slap to his face. He could not let Lu Ming leave alive. The aura on his body was getting stronger and stronger. 3rd level spiritual god realm, 4th level spiritual god realm, peak 4th level spiritual god realm. Even at the peak of the 4th level of the spiritual god realm, he still did not stop. Boom. Dark Child's aura had reached the 5th level of the spiritual god realm. Gasps could be heard at the scene. Dark Child, as expected of a giant level prodigy. Your cultivation has actually reached the 5th level of the spiritual god realm. Dark Child has awakened a 9th level divine rank bloodline. His combat strength is unparalleled. At the 5th level of the spiritual god realm, he should be able to kill a high-level spiritual god. This is too shocking. Dark Child's body was filled with dark chi. He smiled confidently and said, "Kid, I don't care who you are. Today I will die without a doubt." Buzz. A pitch-black scimitar appeared in Dark Child's hand. He moved and pounced at Lu Ming, slashing at him. Lu Ming stood there unmoving. This time, no inscriptions or formations appeared. In an instant, Dark Child's scimitar was about to slash Lu Ming's head. At this moment, Lu Ming stretched out 2 fingers and gently cut at Dark Child. Whoosh! A beam of sword aura appeared between Lu Ming's fingers. Puchi! The saber in Dark Child's hand was easily cut in half. The sword chi didn't stop and continued to cut toward Dark Child. Not good. Dark Child's expression changed drastically. He could feel the threat of death from Lu Ming's sword aura. At this moment, his heart was trembling and even his soul was trembling. Retreat, retreat, retreat. He roared in his heart and retreated like crazy. At the same time, he used all his techniques to defend. However, he immediately fell into despair. The sword aura on Lu Ming's finger could break through anything. All of his defenses were cut open like tofu. Then he felt a chill between his eyebrows. The next moment, he fell into boundless darkness and lost consciousness. What's going on? The surrounding onlookers were baffled. At first they saw Dark Child attacking Lu Ming. Then they saw a sword chi burst out from Lu Ming's finger. Then they saw Dark Child retreating frantically. However, he had only retreated a few meters when his body stopped. He stood there motionless. Many people were confused and didn't understand what had happened. But immediately, everyone's pupils enlarged. Because at that moment, a blood mark appeared on Dark Child's glabella. The blood mark quickly grew longer, and then everyone saw Dark Child's body split into 2 and 2 hollow ears. He was dead. Dark Child was dead. He had been cut in half by a sword. How was this possible? Dark Child's cultivation was at the 5th level of the spiritual god realm and he was also a big shot's pride. With his combat strength, killing an existence at the 7th level of the spiritual god realm would be easy. How could such a prodigy be killed by Lu Ming's sword chi as easily as killing a chicken? How could Lu Ming be so powerful? Who are you? Who the hell are you? Xie Yan and Xie Zhen were so frightened that their faces turned pale and they started to roar madly. Lu Ming pursed his lips slightly and the sword aura on his fingers disappeared. This was a formation carved with his own body. With his emperor cultivation, the formation he carved was naturally terrifying. Using it against Dark Child was really overkill. Buzz. An inscription flashed beneath Lu Ming's feet. In the next moment, Lu Ming appeared in front of Xie Zhen. What do you want to do? This is the holy city, what do you want to do? Xie Zhen was so frightened that he shouted. I'll search your soul. Lu Ming's indifferent voice was heard. He stretched out a finger and pointed at Xie Zhen's glabella. In front of Lu Ming, Xie Zhen felt as if he was being crushed by 10,000 mountains. He could not move at all. Chapter 1333. 1333 Chapter 1333 Abyss Demon Territory again. Lu Ming's finger touched the space between Xie Zhen's eyebrows. An inscription flashed and Xie Zhen's expression froze. His gaze was unfocused as if he was in a daze. Lu Ming was using powerful means to search Xie Zhen's soul. Compared to warriors, there were some techniques of an inscriber that were more mysterious and profound. He had obtained the soul-searching technique from the mysterious Sky Saint. Lu Ming wanted to find out the whereabouts of the Nine Sons Supreme by Shijin and the others from Xie Zhen. Evil creatures, stop. Kill. A few angry shouts were heard as a few figures crossed the sky. As soon as the voices fell, a few terrifying attacks were directed at Lu Ming. The Xie clan's experts had arrived. These people were all at the 7th level of the spiritual god realm. Lu Ming's figure did not move, but a large array suddenly appeared in the sky. The large array glowed and condensed into a few combat swords. With a slash, a few 7th level spiritual god realm experts were killed in the air. So strong. In the drunken immortal garden, many of the young geniuses trembled in their hearts. Lu Ming was too powerful. Killing a 7th level spiritual god was as easy as cutting melons and vegetables. This person shouldn't be someone from the younger generation. He must be someone from the older generation. Someone guessed. Other than Lu Ming, he could not think of anyone else in the younger generation who was so powerful. However, this person was obviously an alchemist and should not be Lu Ming. Therefore, many people guessed that he was an elder. No, I didn't. At this moment, Lu Ming frowned. He realized that in Xie Zhen's memories he did not know the whereabouts of the Nine Sons Supreme by Shijin and the others. Perhaps Xie Zhen's cultivation is too low and he doesn't have the right to know about this. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. In the next moment he turned to look at Xie Yan. Xie Yan was a second-class heaven's favorite. Other than Xian Yanjuan, he was the highest-ranking person in the younger generation of the Xie family. Perhaps he knew. Under Lu Ming's gaze, Xie Yan's expression changed. Without a second thought, he soared into the sky, wanting to leave this place. However, Lu Ming waved his palm gently in the air. Dense runes suddenly appeared above Xie Yan. A large array appeared and condensed into chains that wrapped around Xie Yan. Xie Yan's cultivation was at the 2nd level of the spiritual god realm. However, no matter how much he erupted, he was completely useless against the chains. He was bound tightly. Lu Ming let go of Xie Zhen and walked towards Xie Yan. Xie Zhen's eyes were still unfocused as if he had gone dumb. Yes, Xie Zhen was already an idiot. Earlier, when Lu Ming searched his soul, he did not control it at all. He used the most direct, violent and brutal way to search for what Lu Ming wanted. Therefore, Xie Zhen's soul suffered an indelible injury and he was already dumbfounded. Save me, save me. When Xie Yan saw Lu Ming walking towards him, he was so frightened that he screamed madly. You're looking for death. How dare you be so impudent in the holy city? 9 generations of your family will be executed. Roars of anger could be heard from afar. More experts from the Xie family had arrived. Bus, bus, whoosh. At least a dozen experts rushed over and terrifying auras rushed up like smoke. The weakest aura was at the 9th level of the spiritual god realm, and there were even perfected spiritual gods. The strongest person was surprisingly a supreme being. In an instant, more than a dozen experts appeared in the sky above the drunken immortal garden and launched attacks at Lu Ming. Lu Ming waved his hand and dense runes appeared in the sky. They swam as if they had a life of their own and many large arrays were formed. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The formation glowed, forming dozens of thick chains that wrapped around the dozen experts. After that, Lu Ming did not even look at these people. He appeared in front of Xie Yan and pointed his finger between Xie Yan's eyebrows. Soul search. Boom, boom, boom. In the sky there were continuous rumbles. More than a dozen powerhouses joined forces, but it was impossible to break through the defense. Dozens of chains seemed to be alive, constantly waving and winding, making the dozen or so experts tired of dealing with them. Lu Ming pointed his finger at Xie Yan's glabella. After about 10 breaths, his eyes suddenly lit up. He found it. He found the whereabouts of the Supreme Master of 9 Sons and the others. In Xie Yan's memory, the 9 Sons Supreme by Shijin and the others were imprisoned in the Abyss Demon Realm. The Abyss Demon Territory again. Xian Yanqing had been imprisoned in the Abyss Demon Territory, and Xiao Wan had been rescued from there. It seems that I have to go to the Abyss Demon Territory again. Lu Ming muttered, his finger leaving Xie Yan's glabella. Xie Yan collapsed to the ground like a pile of mud, gasping for breath. His entire body was drenched in sweat. He did not turn into an idiot like Xie Zhen. His cultivation was much stronger than Xie Zhen's, having reached the second level of the spiritual god realm. His soul was stable, so the damage to his soul was not great. Whoosh! Lu Ming waved his hand and an inscription flashed on his arm. A sword aura cut through the void. The dozen or so powerhouses didn't even have time to scream before they were killed by the sword chi. Haha, let's go. Lu Ming laughed heartily. He took a step forward and his figure suddenly disappeared without a trace. In the drunken immortal garden, many young heaven's favorites looked at each other with shock in their eyes. He was too powerful. No matter what cultivation level he was at, he was killed in a single move. Even supreme martial artists were killed in the same way. A word appeared in everyone's mind. An emperor. Lu Ming was most likely an impersonator of the emperor. An emperor had infiltrated the holy city. Boom. Boom. In the depths of the sacred city, a terrifying aura shot up into the sky. A few figures appeared above the drunken immortal garden. The vast pressure made all the young people tremble as if they were about to kneel down. Emperor. The people who appeared later were all emperors. The few sovereigns spread out their spiritual senses to search for Lu Ming, but they could not find any trace of him. Search the entire city, don't let off any suspicious people. An emperor ordered. Unfortunately, there was still no news of Lu Ming after half a day. And everything that happened in the drunken immortal garden had also spread throughout the sacred city. An unfamiliar young man had first crippled Wu Qingkong, then killed Dark Child. What was even more terrifying was that even a supreme being could not fight back. One of the emperors, Xie Zhen, had even become an idiot because of this person. The news shocked the sacred city. Many people knew that Northern Plains or the heaven-suppressing divine army had started to move. Everyone started to guess who this young man was. Some people guessed that it was Lu Ming, because Lu Ming was most likely to have sneaked into the holy city to save Supreme Nine Sons and the others. However, someone immediately retorted that this person cultivated the inscription Dao and could not be Lu Ming. Activate the Heaven's Secrets instrument. In the end, the higher-ups of the Xie family issued an order. The Xie family activated the Heaven's Secrets instrument. Their target was Lu Ming. In the end, they activated the Heaven's Secrets instrument and realized that Lu Ming was not in the holy city. He was still in Northern Plains. In a secret room in the 100 Beasts tribe in the Northern Plains, the projection of the Heaven's Secrets instrument appeared above Lu Ming's head. It seems that the Heaven's Secrets device also has a weakness. It can only find my main body, but not my secondary body. Lu Ming's main body ended its cultivation. He opened his eyes and smiled. Seal. Then Lu Ming shouted softly. 4 sealing gates appeared above his head and sealed the Heaven's Secrets instrument projection. The Heaven's Secrets instrument projection disappeared. Chapter 1334. 1334 Chapter 1334 Using the Divine Nine Dragon Cauldron again. Just as the Xie family and the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace were searching for Lu Ming with all their might, Lu Ming had already changed his appearance. Even his aura had changed. The Xie family and the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace could not find him at all. Not far from the entrance of the Abyss Demon Realm, a dark-faced young man came. The dark-faced teenager was Lu Ming. The security is even tighter now. Lu Ming was watching from afar. The entrance to the Abyss Demon Realm was more heavily guarded than before. Not only were there more inscription formations, but there were also more experts guarding it. Lu Ming sensed carefully and sensed the auras of many supremes. If I barge in now, I'll only alert the enemy. At that time, the Xie family and the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace will attack with all their might and block me inside. Not only will I not be able to save Senior Jianghu and the others, but I'll also be in danger. Lu Ming frowned, thinking of countermeasures in his mind. On the day of the alliance they will definitely send someone to bring Senior Jianghu and the others out. That will be the best time. After pondering for a moment, Lu Ming had an idea. His figure flashed and he left the place. Time passed by very quickly, and in the blink of an eye, it was already the day the Xie clan and the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace would form an alliance. The sacred city was extremely lively. The experts of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace and the Xie clan had all gathered here. In the East Baron, outside 9 Dragons, the space suddenly cracked open and a figure stepped out. It was Lu Ming. After a few years, Lu Ming was back in 9 Dragons again. Buzz. Lu Ming took a step forward and his figure disappeared. The next moment he appeared in 9 Dragons. The defense of 9 Dragons was meaningless to Lu Ming. Lu Ming strode in the void, the endless mountains and rivers of 9 Dragons flitting beneath his feet. Soon he appeared in the depths of 9 Dragons, where the head of one of the dragon veins was. The divine 9 Dragon Cauldron. Lu Ming looked at the divine 9 Dragon Cauldron that was as tall as a mountain. The purpose of his trip was the divine 9 Dragon Cauldron. The divine 9 Dragon Cauldron would definitely play a decisive role in this battle. Roar. The bloodline of the 9 Dragons emerged, and they let out a long roar that shook the heavens. Buzz. As soon as the bloodline of the 9 Dragons appeared, the divine 9 Dragon Cauldron began to shake. A buzzing sound could be heard for hundreds of thousands of miles. The divine 9 Dragon Cauldron is moving. What's going on? Why is the divine 9 Dragon Cauldron, which hasn't moved since the ancient times, moving again? The unusual movement of the divine 9 Dragon Cauldron attracted the attention of the people nearby. One after another, figures crossed the void and flew over at high speed. What's that? A dragon? Arg. That's the 9 Dragons. Lu Ming, it's Lu Ming. What? Lu Ming dares to come here? When many people saw the 9 Dragons, they roared in shock. Some of them had experienced the war in 9 Dragons and were very familiar with Lu Ming's 9 Dragon bloodline. They recognized it at a glance and screamed in fear. Rise. Lu Ming could not be bothered with those people. He controlled the 9 Dragon bloodline with all his might and resonated with the divine 9 Dragon Cauldron. Buzz. Whoosh. The divine 9 Dragon Cauldron shook more and more violently. In the end, it rose from the ground and flew toward Lu Ming, hovering above his head. Divine 9 Dragon Cauldron, come. Lu Ming shouted. The 9 Dragons wrapped around the divine 9 Dragon Cauldron, and a mysterious aura rushed out in all directions. Clang. The other dragon's vein trembled violently. The second divine 9 Dragon Cauldron moved and floated in the air, flying toward Lu Ming. Then the third divine 9 Dragon Cauldron also moved. Buzz. Buzz. The divine 9 Dragon Cauldron broke through the air. In the blink of an eye, 3 divine 9 Dragon Cauldrons were suspended above Lu Ming's head. Lu Ming, you dare? Put down the divine 9 Dragon Cauldron. In the distance, a few howls sounded out as a few figures broke through the air. His speed was extremely fast, and as soon as his voice fell, his figure had already appeared above the dragon vein. The head of the Dongfang family, the head of the Kong family. Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. A few supreme martial artists had come, and some of them were old acquaintances. They were the other family heads of the 6 great ancient families. Lu Ming ignored him and continued to control the 9 Dragon bloodline to summon the divine 9 Dragon Cauldron. Being ignored by Lu Ming, the few supreme beings' faces turned ugly. Let's attack together. The supreme martial artists looked at each other and reached a consensus. Boom, boom, boom. A few rays of dazzling light burst out and shot towards Lu Ming. The light was beautiful, but it was filled with killing intent. Get lost. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold and he stepped into the air. Boom. A terrifying power crushed the space and surged toward the supreme beings. The attacks of the supreme martial artists were as fragile as tofu in the face of this power. 2 of the supreme martial artists' bodies even exploded and died on the spot. As for the family heads of the 3 families, they were sent flying thousands of miles and crashed into a dozen mountains. Blood spurted from their mouths and their breathing became weak. With a single strike, he had killed 2 supreme martial artists and seriously injured the other 3. Such battle prowess was extremely terrifying. In the distance there was silence. No one dared to open their mouths. Today, all the experts of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace had gone to the sacred city. Not even a single emperor was left behind. No one could stop Lu Ming. Is this Lu Ming's combat strength? Among the crowd, there were some young sovereigns who were on the list of top 1,000 talents in the Eastern Baron territory. Some of them had even competed with Lu Ming. At this moment, they were full of dejection and shock when they saw the figure on the dragon vein. Back then, they were of the same generation and they were competing with each other. However, in just a few years, the gap between them and Lu Ming was already huge. They could not be compared at all. They knew that they would never be able to catch up to Lu Ming in this lifetime. Roar. The roars of the 9 dragons shook the heavens. Clang. Clang. The divine 9-dragon cauldron shook continuously. One after another, the divine 9-dragon cauldron flew toward Lu Ming. More and more divine 9-dragon cauldrons appeared above Lu Ming's head. 4, 5, 6. Quick, spread the news. Someone in 9 dragons gave the order. Whoosh, whoosh. One after another, voice transmission jade talismans flew out. However, as soon as they arrived outside 9 dragons, a light screen rose up and blocked all the voice transmission jade talismans. A few figures were standing in the void outside 9 dragons. Among them, there was a dean of the Tianxia Academy who cultivated the Tao of Inscription. There were also 7 or 8 supreme martial artists who cultivated the Tao of Inscription. They had set up a wizardry barrier outside 9 dragons to specifically intercept the voice transmission jade talisman. More and more divine 9-dragon cauldrons were summoned by Lu Ming. In the end, all 9 divine cauldrons were gathered and suspended above Lu Ming's head. I'll lend it to you for a few days. After a few days, I'll let you return to your original place. Lu Ming said softly. The 9 dragons opened their mouths and swallowed. The 9 divine 9-dragon cauldrons flew into the big mouth of the 9-dragon bloodline and disappeared. Brr, brr, roar. At this moment, the 9 dragon veins in 9 dragons were stirred up. Like 9 real dragons, they were about to break through the sky and soar into the sky with dragon chi. Lu Ming's expression was calm as if he had expected this. He waved his hand and 9 inscription talismans flew out from his storage ring. The 9 inscription scrolls flew through the air, each flying towards a dragon vein. Then the scroll expanded rapidly to the size of a mountain. On it, there were countless inscriptions shining. Chapter 1335. 1335 Chapter 1335 Setting off to the Holy City. Suppress. Lu Ming said softly. The 9 inscription scrolls landed on the 9 dragon veins. The endless inscriptions seemed to be alive as they filled the dragon veins, temporarily suppressing them. The 9 dragon veins were temporarily calm. According to the ancient legends, the divine 9-dragon cauldron was refined by an ancient expert to suppress the 9 dragon veins. If the divine 9-dragon cauldron had been gone for too long, the 9 dragon veins would definitely go berserk. Lu Ming had already expected this. Hence, he had asked his clone to refine 9 inscription scrolls to suppress the 9 dragon veins. Although it could only be suppressed for a few days was enough. After the dragon veins had calmed down, Lu Ming kept the 9 dragons' bloodline. He took a step forward and appeared outside 9 dragons in the next moment. Rise. The old dean of the Tianxia Academy shouted. With the help of the other supreme martial artists, a wizardry barrier appeared outside 9 dragons. This layer of enchantment was used to block the voice transmission jade talisman, so that DE would not know that Lu Ming had come here to take the divine 9-dragon cauldron. After setting up the barrier, they set off with Lu Ming. Not long after, they used the inter-territory teleportation formation and returned to northern plains. Let's go to the holy city. With an order, one figure after another tore through space and headed for the sacred city. At the same time, the cultivators of the heaven-suppressing divine army also set off for the sacred city. The sacred city was bustling with noise and excitement. In the sky above the sacred city, multicolored light shone for tens of thousands of zhang. A platform emerged from the void. On it, real dragons, divine phoenixes and qilin were dancing. This was the platform that the Xia clan had used during their million-year sacrificial ceremony. Now that it was being used again, it was clear how much importance the Xia clan placed on this alliance ceremony. The Sage Emperor has arrived. A voice spread out, spreading throughout the entire sacred city. From the depths of the palace, figures flew out. The one leading them was the current Sage Emperor, Xie Qitian. Beside Xie Qitian was a white-haired old man. He was the previous generation's old divine emperor. In addition, there were more than a dozen people, all of whom had powerful auras. They were all emperors. A small portion belonged to the Xia family, while the rest belonged to the Xia family's alliance and the emperors of other overlords. Many experts descended onto the platform. Martial Emperor De and the other sovereigns of the Detian Divine Palace have arrived. Another shout rang out. Bus, bus, bush. A group of experts flew over from afar and landed on the platform. The one in the lead was De and Martial Emperor. Beside him were two elders. One of them was wearing a golden robe. He was the Peak Lever 2 Martial Emperor realm expert who had appeared in the Tianxia Academy last time. The other old man was wearing a long red robe. His aura was not any weaker than the golden-robed old man. Behind them were a group of emperors, more than 10 of them. Welcome, brother De. Xie Qiqian laughed and stepped forward to salute De. Thank you, brother. De returned the bow. All right, since everyone is here, let's begin the ceremony. First, we'll pay our respects to the flag. Someone bring Xia Zhiyang by Shijin and the others here. Xie Qiqian ordered. Yes. Yes, your majesty. An emperor received the order and led a group of people, about 50 of them, towards the north. Now. In the crowd, Lu Ming silently followed the group of people and headed north. The entrance to the Abyss Demon Realm was to the north of the Holy City, which was a distance away. After a while they left the center of the Holy City and were about to reach the entrance of the Abyss Demon Realm. At this moment runes appeared on Lu Ming's body. His figure seemed to have disappeared and there was no aura at all. Without a sound, Lu Ming appeared next to the person at the back. With a wave of his hand, the person did not even have time to react before he was stored into Lu Ming's mountain and river diagram. Following that, Lu Ming's body squirmed rapidly and became exactly the same as the person. What? The emperor at the front seemed to have sensed something and turned around. However, he did not discover anything after a quick glance. Strange, there was clearly some fluctuation just now. The emperor frowned and scanned the crowd with his spiritual sense, but he found nothing in the end. He could only give up and continue flying forward. Lu Ming secretly heaved a sigh of relief. He had finally sneaked in without anyone knowing. This was also the Tao of inscription that Lu Ming had mastered. It was extremely mysterious. At the same time he had the help of the mountain and river diagram, a treasure. Otherwise he would not have succeeded. It wasn't easy to secretly replace a pillar under the eyes of an emperor. Soon they arrived at the entrance of the Abyss Demon Realm. With the emperor leading the way they naturally entered the Abyss Demon Realm smoothly. Looking at the familiar environment, Lu Ming sighed. He did not expect to come to the Abyss Demonic Realm again not long after. Xia Zhiyang and the others have been suppressed by the 9 underworlds demon flame, and their cultivation has been sealed. They can't fight back, but we still have to be careful. These people are not simple. The leader warned. He had a horse-like face and Lu Ming had never seen him before. However, he was obviously the leader of the Xie family. The Xie family indeed had a deep foundation. In the beginning, the Xie family had only announced 3 sovereigns to the public. However, it was obvious that they had more than that. No one knew how many more sovereigns they had hidden in secret. Yes. The others responded. And? The horse-faced emperor nodded and led the group toward the depths of the Abyss Demon Realm. Along the way, the horse-faced emperor's emperor aura was released. When the Fiend clan members sensed it, they were almost scared to death and fled far away. Soon they were hundreds of millions of miles deep into the Abyss Demon Realm. In front of him, a blazing heat spread out. It was a volcano. This wasn't an ordinary volcano or flame. It wasn't an ordinary flame. It was the 9 underworlds demon flame. When they stopped above the volcano, Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a strong murderous intent. That was because Lu Ming noticed a figure in every volcano. Lu Ming was familiar with the figures of the 9 Suns Supreme by Shijin Du Songjue. There were a total of 5 people. Besides the 9 Suns Supreme, the other 4 were all supreme martial artists of the Talisman sect. The 5 of them were each suppressed in a volcano. Their bodies were bound by chains and suspended in mid-air. Within the volcano, the pitch-black 9 nether demonic flame danced and burned the 5 of them at all times. This kind of 9 underworlds demon flame wouldn't burn people to death immediately, but it could bring them endless pain. Furthermore, the cultivation of the 5 of them had been sealed, and they could not use their cultivation to resist. Lu Ming's eyes were as cold as a knife. Xia Zhiyang, today is the day you die. The horse-faced emperor looked down at Xia Zhiyang and the others with a disdainful expression. Oh really? The Xie family and the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace won't be arrogant for long. When Lu Ming returns, it will be the time of your death. In a volcano, Xia Zhuyang raised his head and looked at the sky. His cold voice came out. Lu Ming? Ehe. The horse-faced emperor sneered and said in a disdainful voice, I might as well tell you that Lu Ming has returned. What? Lu Ming is back? Really? Zongzi is back? From the other volcanoes there were sounds of surprise. It was the voices of Bai Shijin, Du Songjue and the others. Chapter 1336 1336 Chapter 1336 Emperor of Nine Sons. Ehe, don't be happy too soon. Today is not only the day of your death, but also the day of Lu Ming's death. Horse-faced emperor sneered. Lu Ming is also in your hands. Xia Zhuyang said in a deep voice, a little worried. Not really, but it'll be soon. Of course. The horse-faced emperor smiled and continued, I heard that Lu Ming is a man who values friendship and loyalty. If he knows that you will be executed today, will he come to the holy city to save you? As long as he comes, he'll be dead. You guys. Despicable. Despicable. You're using us. Don't even think about it. When Xia Zhuyang, Bai Shijin, and the rest heard the horse-faced emperor's words, how could they not know the plot of the Xia family and the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace? They were clearly using them to lure Lu Ming here. They roared in anger. Scream, no matter how loudly you scream, it's useless. The horse-faced emperor sneered. Seeing the anxious looks on Xia Zhuyang and the others' faces, he felt extremely comfortable. At this moment, whoosh, whoosh. In the distance, a series of violent air-rending sounds came from the distance. Before the sound even faded, figures had already appeared around them. They were all from the Fiend clan. Their demonic chi soared to the sky as they glared at horse-faced emperor and the others with cold eyes. The aura of these Masha clan members was very terrifying. They were more powerful than any Masha clan that Lu Ming had encountered before. The one in the lead had a particularly burly body. His demonic chi soared to the sky, and his vast demonic might was unfathomable. The Demon Emperor. The leader of the group was a Demon Emperor, the Emperor of the Demon Clan. Horse-faced Emperor's expression also changed. Sha clan, what are you trying to do? Horse-faced Emperor shouted. To kill you, of course. The Demon Emperor said coldly. You dare? Do you want to exterminate the entire clan? Horse-faced Emperor shouted. Annihilate the entire clan? If your Xia clan could do it, my Sha clan would have been exterminated a long time ago. Would you still be so kind as to spare us? The Emperor mocked. Clang, clang. At this time, the sound of chains breaking came from under the volcanoes. Then, 5 powerful auras rushed out of 5 of the volcanoes. Then, 5 people rushed out of the volcanoes. It was Xia Zhuyang and the others. Xia Zhuyang's body was burning like a sun. The terrifying power of flames caused the temperature in the surrounding tens of thousands of miles to rise rapidly. The Emperor. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The Supreme Being of 9 Sons had actually broken through to the position of the Emperor. Now he should be called the Emperor of 9 Sons. Lu Ming was overjoyed. It seemed that they were not trapped at all. They had rushed out of the volcano on their own. You guys, how did you escape? Horse-faced Emperor was shocked. Of course it's because of my help. Now you can stay here. The Emperor's voice was filled with killing intent. Let's go quickly and spread the news. Horse-faced Emperor suddenly shouted and turned to leave. Stay. The Emperor had been staring at the horse-faced Emperor for a long time. As soon as the horse-faced Emperor moved, the Devil Emperor moved as well. He clawed at the horse-faced Emperor with his sharp claws. Kill? The rest of the Sha clansmen also charged towards the Xia clan. Boom. On the other side, Xia Zhuyang and the others also made their moves. Xia Zhuyang threw a punch and his fist force was like a sun, blasting toward horse-faced Emperor. The horse-faced Emperor was shocked and tried his best to dodge. He did not dare to take it head-on. Xia Zhuyang's punch made him tremble in fear. At the same time, Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, and the other 2 also launched an attack on the Xia family. Inscriptions appeared and killing formations glowed. Bai Shijin and the other 3 attacked, and the void was filled with terrifying killing formations. A few people were killed in an instant. Lu Ming did not reveal his true face immediately. Anyway, Xia Zhuyang and the others had the upper hand now. He was not in a hurry. His figure swayed randomly in the void and he dodged some attacks silently. 9 Yang Divine Fist. The flames on Xia Zhuyang's body became more and more turbulent. Vaguely, there were even the shadows of 9 suns that appeared around his body. He threw a punch that was like the explosion of the sun, blocking all the horse-faced emperor's escape routes. Horse-faced emperor had no choice but to fight back. Boom. The two of them exchanged a blow. The horse-faced emperor's body trembled and he retreated. He spat out a mouthful of blood. He was no match for Xia Zhuyang. As soon as he retreated, the emperor's attack arrived. He could only try his best to resist. As for the people that horse-faced emperor had brought, they were constantly being killed and none of them could escape. Escape, I must escape. Horse-faced emperor roared in his heart. His Zhenyuan seemed to be burning. His domain covered his whole body, blocking Xia Zhuyang's attack. Although he was hit and spat out a large mouthful of blood, and his body was almost burned, he successfully broke out of the encirclement with this attack, and flew crazily toward the exit of Abyss Demon Realm. Not good, we can't let him escape. Xia Zhuyang hurriedly chased after him. The demon emperor of the Masha clan also gave chase. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. His figure flashed and he disappeared from the crowd. Not good, one of them ran away. Bai Shijin and Du Songjue's faces changed. The horse-faced emperor's speed was astonishing. He was running for his life, so it could be said that he was performing exceptionally well. In the blink of an eye, he had traveled 1,000 miles. However, before he could run 100,000 miles, inscriptions suddenly flashed in front of him. A large array appeared, and 8 huge chains appeared in the array, winding around the horse-faced emperor. Break. The horse-faced emperor's expression changed. He struck at the chain, but when his attack landed on the chain, it only caused a vibration. It did not break the chain. Why would I? Horse-faced emperor was shocked. Even he could not break it. This formation was clearly set up by an emperor. Why would another emperor stop him? The next moment, a figure appeared in front of horse-faced emperor. Zhaopa, is that you? No, you're not Zhaopa. The horse-faced emperor was stunned for a moment before he roared. He was very familiar with Zhaopa. It was impossible for him to set up a formation that even he could not break. This person was not Zhaopa at all. Buzz. Buzz. Behind them, Xia Zhuyang and the emperor of the Masha clan had already caught up. Get lost. The horse-faced emperor roared and wanted to rush over from the other side, but there was also a large array there. Chains crossed the sky and blocked the horse-faced emperor. At that moment, Xia Zhuyang and the emperor of the Masha clan had caught up and surrounded the horse-faced emperor. Damn it! Who are you? The horse-faced emperor bellowed and glared at Lu Ming with murderous intent. He could not wait to cut Lu Ming into 8 pieces. If Lu Ming had not stopped him, he would definitely have been able to escape. Xia Zhuyang and the emperor of the Masha clan looked at Lu Ming curiously. Wasn't Lu Ming with Horse-Faced Emperor? He didn't expect to be able to stop Horse-Faced Emperor. More surprisingly, he was able to block it. He was obviously an emperor. If they were enemies, it would not be good. Didn't you just mention me? Lu Ming smiled. Then the shape of his face started to change and he returned to his original appearance. You're Lu Ming? Horse-Faced Emperor shouted in disbelief. Chapter 1337. 1337 Chapter 1337 Inviting the Devil Clan. The horse-faced emperor's eyes widened and he stared at Lu Ming in disbelief. Lu Ming, it was actually Lu Ming. When did Lu Ming sneak in? You were at that time? The horse-faced emperor recalled that when they were about to reach the entrance of the Abyss Demon Realm, he felt a slight fluctuation. When he checked, he could not find any trace. He thought that he was hallucinating. Now it seemed that Lu Ming had sneaked in at that time. Lu Ming waved his hand and a corpse flew out. It was Zhaopa. Lu Ming, what are you doing here? Xia Zhuyang was the most surprised. He looked at Lu Ming in surprise and disbelief. He could not believe that Lu Ming would appear here. What was even more unbelievable was Lu Ming's cultivation level. Lu Ming's aura was that of a 9th level alchemist and an emperor. Lu Ming had already broken through to the emperor realm. No matter how much he valued Lu Ming, he still found it hard to believe. It had only been a short while and Lu Ming had broken through to the emperor realm. Senior Zhuyang, how have you been? Lu Ming smiled. Lu Ming, you should not have come. Xia Zhuyang seemed to have thought of something inside. Let's just kill this person first. Lu Ming's gaze shifted to the horse-faced emperor. You want to kill me? Don't even think about it. Lu Ming, you're going deep into the holy city today. You're dead for sure. The horse-faced emperor roared and soared into the sky, trying to escape. You can't escape, Lu Ming said softly. At the same time, his body glowed and a large array appeared. Lu Ming stretched out 2 fingers, put them together like a sword, and slashed. A beam of sword chi appeared out of thin air and soared into the sky in an instant, slashing at the horse-faced man. Horse-faced emperor was shocked and tried his best to block, but his domain couldn't withstand a single blow from the sword chi. The sword chi didn't stop and continued to slash at horse-faced emperor. The horse-faced emperor screamed as his body was cut in half. The horse-faced emperor had fallen. Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, and the others who happened to catch up to them, as well as some other powerhouses from the Fiend clan, saw this scene. They immediately gasped. He killed an emperor with a single strike. What kind of battle prowess was this? Not only Bai Shijin and the others, but even Xia Zhuyang and the emperor of the Masha clan were dumbfounded. Lu Ming himself looked very calm. Although he had just broken through to the emperor realm, his battle power couldn't be calculated with common sense. The second body of inscription was the cultivation of the Tao of inscription. Every level was perfect, and they all had 10 spirit lamps lit. Not to mention this, the second body had also inherited the inheritance of the profound sky saint, who was a saint. Lu Ming took a second look. Regardless of whether it was his control of mental energy or the inscription formation, the power was shocking. The killing formation that he had carved into his body was even more powerful. Therefore, although the second clone had just broken through to the martial royal realm, its combat strength was not weaker than the main bodies. It could fight with a peak level 2 martial royal realm expert. With such combat strength, it was easy for him to kill an ordinary level 1 martial emperor. Sect. Zongzi? Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, and the rest stammered as they looked at Lu Ming. They were completely speechless and thought that they were dreaming. It was already unbelievable enough to see Lu Ming here all of a sudden. The combat strength that Lu Ming had displayed was even more unbelievable. It was no wonder that they were stunned for a while. Senior White, Senior Du. Lu Ming smiled and gave them a fist salute. Zongzi, it's really you? You've broken through to become a 9th rank alchemist? Ah, great. Our talisman amulet sect has finally given birth to a 9th grade alchemist. Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, and the others trembled with excitement and almost burst into tears. Lu Ming, what are you doing here? De and the Xia family were trying to lure you here. Xia Zhuyang's sudden words made Bai Shijin and the others' hearts skip a beat. Their expressions changed drastically, and the joy in their hearts disappeared without a trace. What was left was only worry. Of course I know that. However, it's still unknown who will win today. Lu Ming briefly explained his plan. All right, seniors, let's go out. Lu Ming said. No. Suddenly a voice rang out. It was the emperor of the Masha clan. Why? Lu Ming looked at the emperor of the Masha clan, a cold glint flashing in his eyes. The emperor's expression changed. He was a little frightened by Lu Ming, but he still gritted his teeth and pointed at Xia Zhuyang and the others. They can't leave. This is the condition they promised me. What are your conditions? Lu Ming frowned. Lu Ming, it's like this. Xia Zhuyang started to explain. It turned out that Xia Zhuyang and the others had been able to escape because of the conditions they had reached with the Devil clan. Xia Zhuyang, Bai Shijin, and the others had agreed to join the Fiend clan and help the Fiend clan fight against the Xia clan for 500 years. In return, the Fiend clan would release the seal on Xia Zhuyang and the others. That was the reason for the earlier scene. Lu Ming roughly understood after listening to it. The Devil clan was trapped here by the Xia clan, and they were constantly being hunted down. The overall strength of the Devil clan was far inferior to the Xia clan, so they could only hide in the Abyss Demon domain. Every second, a Devil clan member was killed. They had their eyes on the strength of Xia Zhuyang and the others. As long as they joined, their strength would increase greatly. In the future they would have some confidence to fight against the Xia family, and the days of the Devil clan would be better. Lu Ming smiled and said, so, it's because of this. Your Devil clan is so passive that you'll never be able to regain your freedom. You've heard it just now. I'm going to fight the Xia family. This is a chance for your Devil clan. Why don't you fight with me? As long as we destroy the Xia family, you'll be free forever. Lu Ming's voice was full of temptation. The emperor's eyes flickered as if he was moved, but in the end he gritted his teeth and said, "Although your combat strength is strong, the Xie family has a deep foundation. You will die if you fight the Xie family." It was obvious that the emperor of the Masha clan did not believe that Lu Ming could fight the Xie family. "Xiao Wan, the chaotic heaven's divine warrior. I believe you know him. He's my ally. I was the one who saved him from the abyss demon territory." Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. "What? Xiao Wan is your ally? Will you also participate in the battle this time?" The emperor's eyes lit up. "Not bad." Lu Ming nodded. "Why should I believe you?" the emperor said. He had to be careful because this concerned the life and death of the entire clan. If they followed Lu Ming to the final battle, it would be equivalent to putting the fate of the Masha clan on the line. "Her, do you believe her?" Lu Ming's glabella glowed and Xian Yanqing walked out. "Lu Ming." Xian Yanqing looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Xian Yanqing and explained the general situation. Chapter 1338. 1338 The confrontation between the emperors. "I am the inheritor of Xiao Wan." The heavenly demon bloodline appeared above Xian Yanqing's head, and its shocking demonic power spread in all directions. The Xie family's mutant bloodline and this? Such dense demonic qi, such pure demonic Dao aura. The emperor was shocked. "How is it now?" Lu Ming asked. "All right, we, the Devil clan, will take this bet. We'll follow you out and fight to the death with the Xie family." The emperor gritted his teeth and agreed. "All right then. Let's not delay any further. Let's go." Lu Ming was overjoyed. The strength of the Masha clan was not weak. They had become stronger out of thin air. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The group quickly flew toward the exit of the Abyss Demon Realm. Soon, the city at the exit of the Abyss Demon Realm was in sight. Above the city, there was a light barrier that enveloped the entire city. Buzz. Lu Ming's fingers were like a sword and he slashed out. A beam of sword light cut through the void and slashed toward the city. The light shield on the city could not withstand Lu Ming's sword aura at all. It was split open and the remaining power of the sword aura did not stop. It almost split the entire city in half. Enemy attack. Enemy attack. Prepare for battle. The city was in an uproar as countless powerful auras surged. Kill. Lu Ming and the rest charged toward the city. Above the sacred city on the platform De Xie and the others had already taken their seats. To the north of the platform, there was a huge flag that was tens of thousands of feet tall. The huge flag was fluttering in the wind. This was the flag of their alliance. De Xie and the others were drinking and waiting. They were waiting for Xia Zhuyang and the others to be brought over and killed as a sacrifice. At the same time, they were also waiting for Lu Ming's arrival. All of a sudden, a voice transmission jade talisman appeared in Xie Qitian's hand. His expression changed as he picked it up. "What's going on?" He asked. "Someone has rescued Xia Zhuyang and the others, and they are now attacking the passage to the Abyss Demon Realm. Brother D, please wait here for a moment. I will go and capture Xia Zhuyang and the others." Xie Qitian stood up and was about to lead the experts of the Xie family to the entrance of the Abyss Demon Realm. At this moment, many figures appeared in the void outside the sacred city. Lu Ming, Xiao Wan, Yen Kuangtu, the barbarian emperor, and the other cultivators of the heaven-suppressing divine army also appeared on the other side. "Now!" Lu Ming suddenly spoke. Boom. Lu Ming took a step forward. The world rumbled and the void exploded. A pitch-black void passageway extended toward the holy city. A light screen appeared above the sacred city, but upon being struck by the spatial passage, it began to shake. Boom. On the other side, Xiao Wan threw a punch and a fist force hit the light barrier. Attack. The other sovereigns also made their moves at the same time, including the cultivators of the heaven-suppressing divine army. At the same time, more than 20 sovereigns made their moves. It was an earth-shaking scene. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Such a terrifying attack landed on the light screen, causing it to shake violently. Gotcha. In the end, the light barrier couldn't take it anymore and cracks appeared like a spider web. Finally, it exploded with a bang. In the sacred city, just as Xie Qitian was about to lead his men to the Abyss Demon territory, an earth-shaking roar suddenly rang out in the sky. It was like thousands of heavenly thunder, as if the sky was going to fall and the earth was going to split apart, and the end of the world was coming. What's going on? In the sacred city, countless people looked up at the sky in fear. In the sky, there was an irresistible and vast pressure, making everyone feel that a great disaster was coming. It's finally here. Di looked up at the sky. You've come at the right time. Xie Qiqian also looked up at the sky, his eyes cold. Gotcha. Boom. Suddenly there was a violent roar in the sky. Pitch-black spatial cracks appeared in the sky, and the scene was spectacular and terrifying. Then one figure after another stepped out of these cracks. Each of them exuded an earth-shattering aura, as if they were the rulers of the world. Lu Ming. That's Lu Ming. And Xiao Wan. Someone in the sacred city shouted. The two people in the lead were Lu Ming and Xiao Wan. Lu Ming was the most powerful heaven's favorite among the younger generation. At such a young age he could kill a martial emperor and fight with a peak level 2 martial emperor. He was an unprecedented heaven's favorite. Xiao Wan was a peerless expert from the Xie clan of the ancient Saint dynasty. 30,000 years ago he had single-handedly caused the Xie clan of the ancient Saint dynasty, which had been at its peak, to suffer a disastrous decline, losing control over the world. It created a situation where the world's powerhouses fought for hegemony. The two of them were the pinnacle figures of the divine wilderness continent. At that moment the two of them had come together. Boom, boom, boom. Terrifying auras soared into the sky. De and the other emperors of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace released their auras and rose into the sky, standing in the air with Lu Ming, Xiao Wan and the others. Among them, De and the two elders beside him had the most terrifying auras, as if they were the masters of the world. The auras of the three of them alone surpassed that of Lu Ming and the others. Lu Ming, Xiao Wan, since you're here today, stay here forever, he said. The golden-robed old man said, his killing intent cold. Not necessarily. Boom. On the other side an old voice came out of a spatial crack. Then more than 10 figures stepped out. They were the powerhouses of the heaven-suppressing divine army. As soon as the powerhouses of the heaven-suppressing divine army appeared, their auras converged with Lu Ming and the others. All right, since they're all here, I'll settle them all today. Xie Qiqian shouted. The experts of the Xie family also rose to the sky and joined De and the others. Boom. There were about 50 emperors from both sides. Their auras clashed, shaking the entire sacred city. Below, in the sacred city, countless people could not resist this pressure. It was as if they were facing the ruler of the world. They could not help but kneel down and tremble. Buzz. Buzz. At this moment, the entire sacred city buzzed and countless lights lit up. In the sacred city, countless buildings and streets were covered in inscriptions, forming a large array that protected the sacred city. The sacred city had been passed down for millions of years. After the blessings of the past sacred emperors, it could be said that the entire sacred city was covered with inscription formations and was indestructible. Inscriptions filled the air and the formation appeared. Only then did the people in the sacred city feel less pressured. Hoo. Many people heaved a long sigh of relief and found that they were all drenched in cold sweat. A confrontation between dozens of emperors was too terrifying. This had only happened a few times in the history of the divine wilderness continent. I'm afraid the heavens will fall today. Some people sighed, knowing that an earth-shaking battle would happen today. Lu Ming, even if you come, you can't save Xia Zhiyang today. He must die today. De's voice was heard. He looked at Lu Ming with cold eyes. Is that so? A clear voice was heard. However, it did not come from Lu Ming's main body. It came from another direction. The sound of air being torn could be heard as figures flew over and revealed them slaviers. Then, it's Lu Ming, another Lu Ming. Someone exclaimed. Chapter 1339. 1339 Xian Yanqing's combat strength. There were actually two Lu Mings. Everyone was dumbfounded. Some of them used their spiritual senses to scan the surroundings and realized that the two Lu Mings had the same aura. The only difference was that one of the Lu Mings had a martial aura. The other one was the Tao of inscription. Two Lu Mings. What was going on? How was this possible? Many people were dumbfounded. They looked at this and that. Lu Ming, it's you. It seems like you were the one who caused a ruckus in the drunken immortal garden last time. Xie Qiqian's eyes narrowed as he spoke. There were countless wonderful techniques in the world. Perhaps Lu Ming had cultivated some kind of wonderful technique, which was why he had two of them. It was similar to a clone technique. D was the calmest. He had long guessed that Lu Ming had a similar secret skill. Back then he had clearly sensed that Lu Ming was in the Talisman Amulet sect. However, in the end, Lu Ming had appeared in the Central Continent's celestial capital. It was also because of this that he made the wrong judgment and gave Lu Ming a few more years to cultivate. Otherwise, Lu Ming would not have grown to this stage. Who else could it be besides me? Lu Ming smiled faintly. A murderous look flashed in Xie Qitian's eyes. Many elites had died in the drunken immortal garden. Even Xie Zhen had become an idiot. He had been hunting for the murderer for the past few days, but he did not expect that the murderer was Lu Ming. He had even sneaked into the Abyss Demon territory and saved Xia Zhuyang and the others. His gaze swept past Lu Ming and landed on Xian Yanqing. Xie Qitian's gaze turned even colder. Xian Yanqing, you still dare to appear here? You're a traitor of the Xia family, yet you still dare to help outsiders to deal with the Xia family. A person walked out from the platform and shouted at Xian Yanqing. This person was Xie Qitian's younger brother, Xie Qiyu. He rebellious? Help outsiders? It's ridiculous, the Xie family has treated me like this. I have no relationship with the Xie family. In my opinion, the Xie family is an outsider. Xian Yanqing sneered and looked at Xie Qiyu with a hint of mockery. How dare you, Xian Yanqing? Let me tell you, you are a member of the Xie family, and you will be a ghost of the Xie family in your death. You will obey the orders of the Xie family for all eternity. If you don't, you will be betraying your ancestors. Everyone will punish you. Xie Qiyu shouted. Haha, this is ridiculous, ridiculous and shameless. Xiao Wan laughed from the side. He glanced disdainfully at the people of the Xie clan and said, according to your logic, even if you are bullied, you can't resist? And be obedient? That's because you have a slave nature in you. When you meet a strong person, you can only be a slave. Such a family is rotten to the core. What do you want them for? Why don't we just destroy it? You. Many members of the Xie clan changed their expressions and glared at Xiao Wan, but no one dared to speak. Xie Qiyu's face was cold, but he didn't dare to speak in front of Xiao Wan. He could only turn his attention to Xian Yanqing and shout, Xian Yanqing, your father is right here and your elders. If you don't kowtow and admit your mistake now, maybe I can spare your life. Bang, bang, bang. As soon as Xie Qiyu finished speaking, Xian Yanqing stepped forward. Her lotus-like feet stepped in the air, making a loud sound. Xian Yanqing landed on the platform and said, I'm right here. If you have the ability, you can send people to capture me. This could be considered a challenge. Xian Yanqing is challenging the Xie family. Everyone from the Xie clan was silent. Send someone to take down Xian Yanqing, but who? Xian Yanqing was a member of the younger generation. They couldn't just send an old man who had cultivated for thousands of years. However, among the younger generation of the Xie family, who could be a match for Xian Yanqing? In the past there was Xian Yinjuan, but now Xian Yinjuan was not here. After a long time no one made a move. There's no need for the younger generation. No matter who they are, they can attack. Xian Yanqing's voice was heard. No matter what generation they were, they could attack. His words were like a slap to the faces of the Xie family. This was undoubtedly a form of irony. A person who was regarded as an outsider and a traitor by the Xie family was invincible among the younger generation. There was not even a single person who could be sent out. This caused the faces of many people from the Xie clan to burn. This stinky girl, she's doing this on purpose. She's deliberately embarrassing the Xie family. Xie Qiyu roared in his heart. Xian Yanqing, I'm here to get you. A tall and strong man stepped out. This person looked like he was almost 40 years old. In fact, he was already in his 50s or 60s, 2 generations older than Lu Ming and the rest. Bang. The man landed in front of Xian Yanqing, and a powerful aura burst out of his body. 8th level spiritual god realm. Xian Yanqing, surrender. The brawny man reached out his hand, and his vast vital essence condensed into a huge hand that grabbed at Xian Yanqing. Since you've made a move, you should be prepared to be killed. Xian Yanqing's voice was as cold as her eyes. She pressed forward with her jade-like hand. The sky demon force field pressed down on the brawny man. Boom. The brawny man didn't even have time to scream before his body suddenly exploded. Then, in the sky demon power field, he turned into ashes and dust. So strong. Many people's hearts trembled. One move and he had instantly killed an 8th level spiritual god realm expert. He had turned an 8th level spiritual god realm expert into ashes in one move. What powerful strength. The scene was filled with powerhouses. Any supreme being or emperor could easily do this, but Xian Yanqing was only in his 20s. Xian Yanqing had always been with Lu Ming. Lu Ming's performance was too dazzling, causing everyone to ignore Xian Yanqing's existence. However, at this moment, everyone had to re-examine Xian Yanqing. There were only a few people in ancient times who could turn an 8th level spiritual god realm expert into ashes with one move at this age. How can he be so strong? He's just a mutant. In the crowd, Xie Yan, Xian Yanlin, and the other Xie clan elites were all pale. Xian Yanqing's move dealt the biggest blow to the younger generation of the Xie family. In the past, Xian Yanqing was just an anomaly in their eyes. But now he had far surpassed them. They found it hard to bear. Xie clan, who else wants to make a move? Xian Yanqing's cold voice sounded. The Xie family was silent. Who else is going to make a move? To be able to turn an 8th level spiritual god into ashes in one move, Xian Yanqing's combat strength was at least at the perfected spiritual god realm. Could it be that the Xie clan had to send out a supreme martial artist to deal with a junior? How audacious, impudent and ruthless. You killed your own kind. I must teach you a good lesson today. With a loud shout, Xie Qiu stepped forward and his supreme aura pressed down on Xian Yanqing. He, a supreme martial artist who has cultivated for thousands of years, attacked a junior, and he even said it so arrogantly. How shameless. Lu Ming sneered, his voice was heard from afar. Xie Qiu's face was burning. He could not be bothered with Lu Ming's words and walked towards Xian Yanqing step by step. Kneel down. Suddenly, Xie Qiu shouted as his aura burst out, forming a terrifying pressure that pressed down on Xian Yanqing. This was the pressure of a supreme martial artist. Not many people in the younger generation could resist it. They had to kneel down under this pressure. Chapter 1340. 1340 Chapter 1340 triggered. However, Xian Yanqing didn't feel anything. Even his clothes didn't move. You're the one kneeling. Xian Yanqing pressed her hand forward, and the Sky Demon force field burst out, enveloping Xie Qiu. The Sky Demon power field's powerful force field and terrifying destructive power instantly pressed down on Xie Qitian. Gotcha. Xie Qiu's expression changed drastically. It was as if hundreds of mountains were pressing down on his body. His body trembled and he almost knelt down. Break! Xie Qiu roared and used his domain to resist the Sky Demon force field. The demonic qi around Xian Yanqing grew thicker. A bead appeared between her brows. At this moment, the power of her Sky Demon power field was raised to the extreme. Xian Yanqing's jade-like hand pressed down in the air again. Boom. Xie Qiu's domain crumbled as he roared and knelt down in front of everyone's shocked eyes. Bang. Xie Qiu knelt down on the platform in front of Xian Yanqing. Ah. Xie Qiu howled madly and struggled madly, his face turning the color of pig liver. As a supreme martial artist, it was already embarrassing for him to deal with a junior. However, in the end, not only did he fail to take down Xian Yanqing, but he was forced to kneel in front of her before the official battle even began. This was a great humiliation and it was worse than killing him. He was angry, he roared, he struggled, but it was useless against Xian Yanqing's Sky Demon force field. Xian Yanqing had obtained the inheritance of a supreme figure in the demonic path. His demonic cultivation was extremely pure and powerful. Moreover, Xian Yanqing's cultivation had already reached the great circle of the spirit god realm. Killing an ordinary supreme being was a piece of cake for him. In front of Xian Yanqing, Xie Qiu didn't have much power to resist. Kill? Die. Xian Yanqing shouted, his eyes cold. He took a step forward and pointed his fingers at Xie Qiu like a sword. Some black lotus petals appeared on her fingertips and condensed into a lotus sword. Impudent, you dare? In the sky, a white-haired old man roared and stepped towards Xian Yanqing. His emperor's aura pressed down on Xian Yanqing. This was an emperor of the Xie clan. Boom. At the same time, the white-haired emperor sent out a palm print as large as a mountain towards Xian Yanqing. Xian Yanqing's expression changed. With her strength, she could easily kill an ordinary supreme being, but there was still a gap between her and an emperor. Just as Xian Yanqing was about to leave Xie Qiu behind to block the attack, a voice rang in her ear. Then, the lotus sword in her hand did not stop and slashed towards Xie Qiu. No! Xie Qiu shouted in fear. Evil creature! Impudent! Xie Qitian and the white-haired emperor roared from above. The white-haired emperor's palm print shone with a brilliant light, and its power was even more terrifying than Xian Yanqing's. A dignified emperor actually joined forces with others to deal with a junior. How shameless! I'll be your opponent. A clear voice was heard. A young figure suddenly appeared in front of the white-haired elder. It was Lu Ming's clone. Lu Ming put his fingers together like a sword. A ray of sword light appeared and he slashed. The sword light easily split the white-haired elder's palm print in half. The sword light did not stop and continued to slash at the white-haired emperor. Ah! Below him, a scream was heard, and then it stopped abruptly. Fresh blood spurted out as Xie Qiu's head flew far away. His spiritual god flew out, but was also annihilated by the destructive power of the sky demon power field. Ah! Before Xie Qiu's body could fall, a scream came from above. The white-haired emperor retreated in a frenzy. His face was pale and one of his arms had already disappeared. His eyes were filled with shock. If he had not retreated quickly, he would have been split in half by Lu Ming. Kill? Lu Ming stepped forward, his long robe fluttering in the wind. His killing intent was like the tide. Sword chi pulsed from his fingers as he slashed at the white-haired elder again. This sword was so powerful that it shook the sky and earth. The entire sky was split open by this sword. The terrifying sword power not only shocked the white-haired old man, but also the other emperors of the Xie family. It was too late for them to save him. Buzz. All of a sudden, a milky white holy light condensed into a long spear. It pierced through the void and shot toward Lu Ming. The terrifying power made Lu Ming's eyes narrow. The sword chi in his hand also changed direction and slashed at the holy light spear. Clang. With a deafening collision sound, the sword chi and the long spear both disappeared. Lu Ming's gaze turned to the sky. A gray-haired old man walked out from the dozen or so Xie family sovereigns. In his hand, holy light flickered and another long spear was formed. Peak Lever II Martial Royal Realm. An emperor from the heaven-suppressing divine army spoke in a grave voice. The gray-haired old man was actually a Peak Lever II Martial Royal Realm expert. Xiet Sangqiong he Xiet Sangqiong. Someone exclaimed as they recognized this person. So it's him. Everyone who had heard of this person's name felt a chill in their hearts. Xiet Sangqiong, the younger brother of the previous generation's old divine emperor, and the uncle of Xie Qitian. This person was shockingly talented, and his talent was even above the old divine emperor's. However, it was rumored that after he broke through to the emperor level, he went overseas in search of the great Tao. Many people thought that he had long died overseas, but they didn't expect that he was still alive, guarding the sacred city. The Xie clan's hidden strength was indeed astonishing. It's true that there are talents in every generation. Lu Ming, your talent is unprecedented. Let me be your opponent. The spear of holy light in Xiet Sangqiong's hand grew brighter and brighter, piercing the sky. Aha, Xiet Sangqiong, I should be your opponent. At this moment, the old general of the heaven-suppressing divine army laughed. His aura burst out, and his eyes were filled with fighting spirit. He stepped into the void and locked his aura on Xiet Sangqiong. Xiet Sangqiong's expression changed. The old general's cultivation was also at the peak of the second-level martial royal realm, which was not weaker than his. He did not dare to be careless. Traitors of the heaven-suppressing divine army will be executed today. Xie Qitian shouted coldly as he released his aura. Boom, boom, boom. Over a dozen sovereigns from the Xie family released their auras and pressed down on the heaven-suppressing divine army. The heaven-suppressing divine army didn't show any weakness either. More than 10 emperors released their auras and confronted the Xie family. The atmosphere was tense and a battle was about to break out. Buzz. A golden sword light shot up into the sky. Even among the auras of so many emperors, it was still brilliant and dazzling. It was Di. He looked at Lu Ming's main body with killing intent. Lu Ming, it's time to deal with you. Di's powerful aura pressed toward Lu Ming. Bang. Xiao Wan stepped forward, his demonic chi like a rainbow. Di, I am your opponent. But a golden figure appeared in front of Xiao Wan, blocking his path. Xiao Wan, the previous battle was undecided. Let's continue today. The man said coldly. He was Di Hongqing. Chapter 1341. 1341 Jiuyang and Di. All the experts confronted each other, and a great battle was about to break out. At this moment, a voice rang out from afar. Di, you and I will fight. Buzz. A figure appeared in front of Lu Ming and confronted Di. It was the Supreme Master of the Nine Suns, Xia Zhiyang. Xia Zhiyang's entire body was bathed in flames. He was burning like a sun. Xia Zhiyang, do you want to fight with me? Hehe, although you've reached the martial royal realm, you're still far from being able to fight me. Di smiled indifferently. Di, the moment you killed me we had nothing to do with each other. I have paid you back but you haven't paid me back. We must fight. If we don't fight today we won't have a chance in the future. Xia Zhiyang said. No more chances in the future? Xia Zhiyang, you know your own limits. You know that you will die today. Di sneered. Xia Zhiyang shook his head. What I mean is that you are the one who will die today. That's why we won't have a chance to fight in the future. He said. I'm the one who's going to die. Ah, what a joke. Xia Zhiyang, since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Di laughed and stepped forward. Golden light burst out from his body, and the golden sword qi was even more powerful. Lu Ming did not stop him. He knew that there was a knot in Xia Zhiyang's heart, which was Di. He and Di had to fight no matter if they won or lost. Otherwise, Xia Zhiyang's knot in his heart would not be broken, and it would be difficult for him to make any further progress in his cultivation. Master, take the tower. Yan Kuang waved his hand, and the Emperor Spirit Tower flew toward Xia Zhiyang. Xia Zhiyang raised his hand and held the Emperor Spirit Tower in his hand. The Emperor Spirit Tower vibrated slightly, as if it had resonated with Xia Zhiyang. A circle of territory bloomed and combined with Xia Zhiyang. The Emperor Spirit Tower was a fire attribute Emperor Spirit weapon. Xia Zhiyang had awakened the Nine Yang bloodline. Now that he had broken through to the Emperor level and cultivated the Nine Yang divine body, his entire body was covered in the divine fire of the sun. As soon as the Emperor Spirit Tower was in Xia Zhiyang's hands, it was connected to his mind and was controlled by him. Of course, this was because Yan Kuangtu could not control it. After all, the Emperor Spirit Tower was refined by Yan Kuangtu first. If Yan Kuangtu deliberately controlled it, Xia Zhiyang would not be able to use it. Xia Zhiyang, so what if you have another Emperor spiritual weapon? Do you think you can fight me? Kill. Di shouted coldly. His palm was like a sword. He struck down and a golden sword light slashed toward Xia Zhiyang. Nine Yang divine fist. An even more shocking flame burst out from Xia Zhiyang's body, as if the sun was burning. Boom, boom, boom. Xia Zhiyang punched 9 times in a row. 9 fist forces like 9 suns shot toward Di. The golden sword light slashed down, and the 9 sun-like fist forces were shattered one by one. Buzz. The Emperor Spirit Tower shook and grew to the size of a mountain, crashing down on Di. Boom. Di's sword qi hit the Emperor Spirit Tower and collapsed. Again? Xia Zhiyang roared. His territory spread out and merged with the territory of the Emperor Spirit Tower. The power of the Emperor Spirit Tower was even stronger than when it was in Yan Kuangtu's hands. It smashed toward Di again. The Emperor Sword. Di's eyes were cold and his sword qi whistled. A golden sword qi like an emperor's sword was released. It was filled with supreme majesty as if everyone had to kneel down. The power of this sword was shocking. Di began to show his strength at the peak of the 2nd level of the martial royal realm. Clang. The sword hit the Emperor's Spirit Tower. The Emperor's Spirit Tower shook violently and was sent flying by the sword radiance. Xia Zhiyang's body also trembled and he took 9 steps back. After all, Xia Zhiyang's cultivation was only at the 1st level of the martial royal realm, and he had just broken through. He was far from Di's level. Even with the king's spiritual weapon he was no match for him. Emperor Sword, break the world. The sword qi soared into the sky and slashed down at Xia Zhiyang again. Xia Zhiyang continued to block with the Emperor's Spirit Tower. Clang. The sword qi struck the Emperor's Spirit Tower, which shook even more violently and was sent flying. This sword will kill you. Di's cold voice rang out. He swung his sword at Xia Zhiyang's head. Master. Yan Kuangtu turned pale with fright. Lu Ming's eyes were solemn but he did not help. Just as Di Yi's sword qi was about to hit Xia Jiuyang, a stone flew out from between Xia Jiuyang's eyebrows. As soon as the stone flew out, Xia Jiuyang's aura soared. He threw a punch and hit Di Yi's sword light. Boom. With an earth-shattering boom, the sword light was destroyed. That is, the Divine Sun Stone? It's really the Divine Sun Stone. Many sovereigns stared at the stone between Xia Jiuyang's eyebrows and exclaimed in surprise. Lu Ming's lips curled into a faint smile. Yes, the stone between Xia Jiuyang's eyebrows was the Divine Sun Stone. Lu Ming had cut it out of the Divine Ruins, ancient mine during the Mu family's stone gambling event back in the Divine Ruins continent. The Divine Sun Stone was produced from the core of the sun, and it was seamless with Xia Jiuyang's body. Lu Ming had given the Divine Sun Stone to Xia Juyang when they broke out of the Abyss demonic realm. Xia Juyang was very shocked. He wanted to reject it as it was too valuable. However, Lu Ming said that he would only accept it after this battle. The Divine Sun Stone was indeed a perfect match for Xia Juyang's body constitution. Xia Juyang refined it slightly and it fused perfectly with him. As soon as the Divine Sun Stone appeared, Xia Juyang's cultivation temporarily skyrocketed with the help of the Divine Sunstone's power, reaching the second level of the Martial Emperor realm. Di Yi's eyes shone with a cold light. Like two sword lights, he stabbed at Xia Juyang. So what if you have the Divine Sunstone? You'll still die. Di Yi's voice rang out, and the sword qi whistled, rushing towards Xia Juyang. Xia Juyang controlled the Emperor Spirit Tower and smashed it at Di. 9 Yang Divine Fist. Xia Juyang roared. His body glowed and then 9 suns emerged from his body. Kill. Xia Juyang rushed toward Di, his fists constantly bombarding Di. Boom. Boom. The sky was boiling as the two of them began a great battle. The scene was extremely shocking and for a time there was no clear winner. Heavens, he's really too strong. With such power, if it were to land on the ground, it would be able to pierce through the earth, right? In the sacred city, countless martial artists looked up at the sky, their eyes filled with deep shock. The power of a martial royal realm expert was already terrifying enough, not to mention a battle of Di Yi's level. The entire sacred city was glowing. Inscriptions appeared in every corner, forming a light screen. Occasionally, a powerful qi would fall from above, but it would be blocked by the light screen. Otherwise, the entire holy city would be destroyed. Xia Juyang can actually fight with Martial Emperor Di? Some of the spectating sovereigns revealed expressions of shock. Xia Juyang's combat power was beyond imagination. Even if Xia Juyang had an Emperor spiritual weapon, his cultivation was only at the early stage of the first-level Martial Emperor realm. An ordinary Martial Emperor could not fight with Di even if he controlled an Emperor spiritual weapon. But Xia Juyang had done it. Chapter 1342. 1342 The Battle of the Emperors. Xia Juyang's spirit body is very powerful. It's not an ordinary spirit body. Yes, Xia Juyang's spiritual body is the rare 9 Yang divine body. It's not an ordinary spiritual body. Some of the emperors were discussing. In the sky, Martial Emperor Di and Xia Juyang had exchanged dozens of moves in the blink of an eye. It was difficult to determine the winner. The more Martial Emperor Di fought, the colder his eyes became, and the stronger his killing intent became. Evil disciple die. Suddenly Di roared. A golden combat sword appeared in his hand, and the sword qi suddenly soared. An emperor's spiritual weapon. Lu Ming's pupils suddenly constricted. The sword in Di Yi's hand was undoubtedly an emperor's spiritual weapon. Di Yi finally took out his king's spiritual weapon. What shocked Lu Ming was that the emperor's spiritual weapon in Di Yi's hand was very similar to the one Di Hongqing had taken out. They seemed to be the same type of emperor's spiritual weapon. Clang. Di Yi's sword hit the royal spirit tower and sent it flying. Then the sword slashed towards Xia Juyang. After all, Xia Juyang's cultivation was far inferior to Di Yi's. After Di Yi took out his king's spiritual weapon, he was no match for him at all. He was sent flying by the sword and spat out a large mouthful of blood. He was seriously injured. Master. Yen Kuangtu was shocked. Kill? Di Yi held the emperor's spiritual weapon sword in his hand. His killing intent was as cold as a knife as he charged towards Xia Juyang. He wanted to take Xia Juyang's life. Buzz. At this moment, Lu Ming rushed out. As he rushed out, the 9 streams of dragon energy in his body exploded. At the same time, the 9 dragon bloodlines and the 3rd bloodline appeared at the same time. Lu Ming transformed into 9 dragons. He twisted his body and pounced at Di, clawing at him. The dragon claw was covered in chaos intent. Lu Ming almost used all his strength in this move. Lu Ming, if you want to save him, I'll have to kill you first. Di shouted coldly. His combat sword did not stop and slashed toward Lu Ming. Boom. Lu Ming's dragon claw grabbed the combat sword. Lu Ming could sense a terrifying sword aura. It was extremely sharp and seemed to be able to destroy everything in the world. The chaos will of the dragon claw shook violently and was finally cut open. The terrifying sword chi pierced through the chaos will and landed on the 9 dragons. Buzz. The 9 dragons' huge bodies were sent flying hundreds of miles away. They stopped and their bodies were covered with sword marks. Di controlled the king's spiritual weapon and wielded it with all his strength. The power was really terrifying. Lu Ming could barely hold it down with all his strength, but his body with the 9 dragon bloodline was covered with wounds and almost collapsed. The power of the bloodline circulated, and the wounds on the 9 dragons' bodies quickly healed. Lu Ming, I told you. You can't save him. Di's eyes were cold. He held his sword and continued to attack Xia Zhiyang. Roar. The 9 dragons roared and wanted to save him again. Buzz. A red-robed elder appeared in front of Lu Ming and slashed his sword at him. I'm your opponent. The red-robed old man was another expert at the peak of Lever 2 Martial Royal Realm beside Di. His first move was extremely powerful. If you want to win by numbers, kill. On the other side, the barbarian emperor, Chu Luo, and the others shouted as they charged toward the red-robed elder. If you want to fight, I'll accompany you. Kill. The emperors of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace also moved, charging towards the barbarian emperor and the others. Damn it, let's go and fight. Fight. Boom. 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 A chaotic battle broke out. The emperors of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace and Northern Plains started fighting. Each of them chose an opponent and flew into the sky, fighting. Clang. Xiao Wan and Di Hongqing also made their moves. A blade light and a sword light almost tore the sky apart. The 2 of them fought high up in the sky while the others stayed far away. Attack. On the other side, the emperor of the Xia family and the heaven-suppressing divine army also started to fight. The old general and Xia Zhangqiong engaged in a fierce confrontation. As for the 100 Battles Martial Emperor, he was fighting the old sage emperor. Boom. 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 The sky above the sacred city was in chaos. Dozens of emperors attacked, and their destructive auras spread out for millions of miles. In the sacred city, if it wasn't for the protection of the endless inscription formation, and those emperors flying into the sky to fight, deliberately avoiding the sacred city would have long been reduced to ashes. Even so, the destructive aura was too terrifying. It made countless people in the sacred city tremble and kneel down. Even some of the supreme martial artists' faces turned pale. This kind of battle was too shocking. Even a supreme martial artist couldn't interfere. Once they were envelevered, they would be instantly turned into ashes. Yan Kuangtu, Xian Yanqing, and the others looked up with worried expressions. They wanted to interfere, but they realized that they couldn't do so at all. They could only watch. The supreme beings from all sides didn't make a move. They just looked up into the sky. They understood that the battle between the emperors in the sky was the battle that would determine the situation in the divine wilderness continent. Whichever emperor won would be the winner. Boom. The 9 dragons, dragon claws struck out and exchanged a blow with the red-robed old man. They were evenly matched. Lu Ming, I'll kill Xia Zhiyang first, then you. No one can save you today. Di sneered. The situation was clear. Their peak combat strength had the advantage. He and the red-robed old man were invincible. Di took a step forward and charged towards Xia Zhiyang. A battle to the death. Xia Zhiyang shouted. He intended to fight Di with his injured body. Tu Qian. At this moment, Lu Ming's glabella glowed. A burly figure appeared, holding a huge battle axe and chopped at Di and Martial Emperor. The power was shocking. Di's pupils shrank. He had no time to deal with Xia Zhiyang. He waved his sword and hit the giant axe. Clang. Tu Qian and Di's bodies trembled and they retreated. Peak Lever 2 Martial Royal Realm? An Emperor's spiritual weapon? No, it's a puppet. Lu Ming, how do you have such a powerful puppet? Di Yi's spiritual sense swept over Tu Qian and he roared in disbelief. Lu Ming actually had such a powerful puppet with him. Without a word, Tu Qian raised his battle axe and charged at Di Yi. Clang. Di Yi could only fight with Tu Qian. Tu Qian also controlled an emperor's spiritual weapon and was no weaker than Di Yi. The two strong people engaged in an intense battle. Xia Zhuyang's entire body was covered in flames. The power of the divine sunstone continued to flow into his body, and his injuries were quickly recovering. Damn it, I'll kill you first. The red-robed elder shouted as a golden combat sword appeared in his hand. It was an emperor's spiritual weapon, and this sword was almost exactly the same as the one in Di Yi's and Di Hongqing's hands. This kind of emperor's spiritual weapon seemed to come in a set. Lu Ming was even more certain that Di Yi's background was extraordinary. Di Yi's origin had always been mysterious. It seemed that he had suddenly appeared 10,000 years ago. Who can you kill? Just as the red-robed elder took out his emperor's spiritual weapon and was about to attack Lu Ming, a clear voice came from behind him. A terrifying sword chi slashed at the red-robed elder. The red-robed old man was shocked. He turned around quickly and slashed out with his sword, dispersing the sword chi. Lu Ming. The red-robed old man's eyes narrowed and his expression changed. Lu Ming was also behind him. Lu Ming's second body. Chapter 1343. 1343 The First Hell Emperor. Old man, our battle has only just begun. Lu Ming's voice came out of the 9 dragons' mouths. Then, a lightning cauldron appeared and enlarged rapidly, smashing toward the red-robed elder. Roar. The 9 dragons twisted their bodies, and chaos intent permeated the air. They used the prison-suppressing heavenly art, and their 9 dragon claws clawed at the red-robed elder. At the same time Ming Lian moved. He took a step forward and countless inscriptions appeared in the air. More than a dozen formations appeared at the same time. More than 100 giant chains formed and wrapped around the red-robed elder. Break! The red-robed elder struck out with his palm and sent the lightning cauldron flying. At the same time, he slashed horizontally with his golden sword, cutting off more than 100 chains. But at this moment, the 9 dragons attacked. The 9 dragon claws were suffused with a chaotic light and crushed the space. The red-robed elder was shocked by the power. Whoosh! Whoosh! The sword chi whistled and mysterious runes appeared on Minglian's body, forming a terrifying killing formation. In a flash he shot out 9 rays of sword chi. Each ray of sword chi was terrifyingly powerful, causing the red-robed old man to be afraid. Lu Ming's main body and secondary body had the same consciousness. When they worked together it was seamless. The red-robed elder's pupils contracted as he controlled his emperor's spiritual weapon to release dozens of sword chi that covered his entire body. Although the power of the emperor's spiritual weapon was strong, the power of the dozens of sword chi was greatly reduced after the energy was dispersed. Boom! The 9 dragons' dragon claws slashed down, and more than a dozen sword chi were destroyed. On the other side, the sword chi that the second body slashed out also collided with the dozen sword chi and dissipated. However, as soon as the sword chi disappeared, another formation appeared in the sky. This time there were both trapping and attacking formations. The dense light flooded towards the red-robed elder. The red-robed elder could only counterattack with all his might. For a moment, the red-robed elder was completely passive. The combat strength of Lu Ming's main body and secondary body was equivalent to the peak of the second-level martial royal realm, which was on par with the red-robed elder. However, when the main body and secondary body worked together, it was not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. The combination of the two, one martial Dao and the other inscription Dao, was seamless. All kinds of trapping and attacking techniques poured down on the enemy like a storm, leaving the enemy no chance to breathe. Even though the red-robed elder was controlling the emperor's spiritual weapon, he could not form an effective counterattack at the moment. Under Lu Ming's storm-like attacks, he could only protect himself. This caused many of the spectators to be shocked. The two Lu Mings had joined forces to suppress a peak level 2 martial royal realm expert who had an emperor's spiritual weapon. On the other side, Tu Qian completely disregarded his life and launched a crazy attack, firmly entangling Di Yi. At this time, Xia Zhuyang's injury had almost recovered. He joined the battle and attacked Di Yi with Tu Qian. The battle had entered a state of anxiety. The two sides fought intensely and it was hard to tell who would win. Buzz. Just as Lu Ming and the red-robed elder were engaged in an intense battle, a faint air-piercing sound was heard behind Lu Ming. Then, a black sword light broke through the space and suddenly appeared behind the 9 dragons, stabbing at them. This time it was very sudden. When the sword light stabbed, there was almost no fluctuation and its speed was amazing. The 9 dragons wanted to dodge, but it was too late. The black sword light pierced into the bodies of the 9 dragons, and the terrifying sword chi surged wantonly. At the same time, a black-robed figure appeared. This person was skinny and his face was pale. His face was filled with ferocity. Die, Lu Ming! Die! How dare you kill my son, dark child? Die! The man roared with a ferocious expression. Bang! The bodies of the 9 dragons collapsed. But before the black-robed man could celebrate, a stone steel appeared, and an aura even more powerful than the 9-dragon bloodline exploded. The bloodline of the prison-suppressing steel. Boom! The prison-suppressing steel's bloodline shook and hit the black-robed man. At the critical moment, the black-robed man blocked it with the black sword in his hand, but his body was still shaken and he was sent flying. He spat out a mouthful of blood. First Hell Emperor, you're looking for death. Lu Ming's murderous voice came from the prison-suppressing steel's bloodline. The black-robed man was the first underworld emperor of the southern underworld. He was very powerful and had reached the 2nd level of the martial royal realm. However, he was only at the early phase of the 2nd level of the martial royal realm and did not have an emperor's spiritual weapon. Lu Ming did not take it to heart. Buzz. At this moment, the red-robed old man finally seized the opportunity and slashed out with his sword. The sword chi slashed at the bottom of the prison-suppressing steel bloodline. There was the remnant body of the prison-suppressing steel bloodline, which was indestructible. Clang! The bloodline of the prison-suppressing steel vibrated. With the help of the power of the red-robed old man, it flew far away in the direction of the first emperor of the dead. The first Hell Emperor was shocked and wanted to escape. However, a formation suddenly appeared in the void in front of him. Hundreds of chains wrapped around him. Ming Lian made his move. Open it! The first emperor of the dead shouted as he slashed out with his thin black sword, trying to cut the chains apart. However, his cultivation was far inferior to the red-robed elders, and he didn't have an emperor's spiritual weapon. He only managed to cut off a few chains and more chains wrapped around him. The bloodline of the prison-suppressing steel had already arrived. It was filled with the chaotic will and was about to suppress the first emperor of the dead. He dares to be distracted. Just in time to get rid of one. Kill. On the other side, the red-robed old man was overjoyed, and his eyes emitted a ferocious light. The sword chi of the combat sword in his hand surged and he attacked Ming Lian's second body. In his opinion, Lu Ming's decision to kill the first emperor of the dead was foolish. This way he could kill the second one first. As long as he killed one, the other one would not be a threat. A terrifying sword light slashed towards the second body. However, the second figure's expression was calm. He took a few steps back and wherever he passed by, a formation appeared. Break, break, break. The red-robed elder slashed out with his combat sword. It was as if he was breaking dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. He split apart the great formations and attacked them one after another. The killing formation on the second body glowed even brighter. Sword chi shot out, but they were all split apart by the red-robed elder's combat sword. The red-robed elder approached Lu Ming's side rapidly. At this moment, Ming Lian's clone's glabella lit up. 2 sword lights suddenly appeared and shot toward the red-robed elder at an extremely fast speed. Moreover, the cry of a phoenix could be heard from the 2 sword lights. Not good. The red-robed elder's heart trembled. These 2 sword lights gave him a sense of danger, and all the hair on his body stood up. At the critical moment, he could not be bothered to chase after Lu Ming. He retracted his combat sword to defend and slashed at the 2 sword gleams. Clang! Clang! Sparks flew in all directions as the 2 sword radiances were sent flying by the red-robed elder. However, his arm was also slightly numb. What a powerful force this is! The red-robed old man was secretly shocked. When he saw the true body of the 2 sword lights, his eyes slightly narrowed. They were 2 small swords about the length of a palm and they looked like 2 feathers. The faint cry of a phoenix could be heard. That's right, these 2 small swords were made from phoenix feathers. You're tuning in to the Han Lee's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.